out there, your own relatives have got your eye on your land. If you think every time you go India, they follow you around because you look like Akshay Kumar, I would like to tell you, my friend, you do not look like Akshay Kumar. And it's not because we're pretty or good looking that they go, Hanji, Hanji, Bhai, and then Magar Fed there. Their one eye is on your land. They know that you ain't going to have a clue. They are waiting for your old men to die, and they are waiting then to sit that land.
Kabja.
You then go and say to your relatives, Meri zameen da saab tab deo. They say, Kera juha saab tab. I still get some people saying, no, boy, what's a jat without the jameen? I said, bro, when's the last time you done farming? If I show you 10 types of aloo, could you even tell me what types they are? The smart people from England, we play the game on them. Only thing that trumps the land is the V for visa. Visa. When you sell them the visa dream, oh, how many kids you got? Yeah, don't worry, I'll pull one of them out. That's like, dung. Why do I want to harp this man's land and do him out of a few luck when here's my little golden goose?
We have land in India.
Yeah.
What do you do to, number one, redeem it, sell it, and bring the money back
Sort it
here
out,
if your parents have passed and you have no connections over there?
You're talking to the right person. Let me tell you the exact scenario, right?
What's up, people? Welcome to this week's episode of the Indy and Dot podcast. We are joined by a very special guest. It is Lord Bhangal, aka Harjap. How you doing?
I'm good. How about yourselves?
We're good, man. How do you feel to be newly enshrined as a Lord Bhangal?
Lord of Smevik just has a bit of a title to it, but it's a good experience, man.
How did you find that the cloud challenge?
I found it really good. I found it something different, innovative, something that perhaps us as a community, definitely those in the media, should have done a long time ago.
Yeah,
I think we're lacking on certain things. A lot of us are just out there doing their stuff for clicks and likes, trying to be sensationalists.
Okay.
Actually, something with a bit of thought and a bit of process, something that lasts a bit for a series.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do that sort of quality stuff for a long time. Huh? And
Quality
is the key. Like if you go on TikTok and look at our top people with the top followers or the top views, what are they? People dancing in the garden, people imitating stuff. Pagal pana ko kursi leke sir te ghumi janda. All this sort of barge banana. If they did that in front of you, like our dads in real life, they'd probably give them a thappar. Imagine you did that in front of your dad. So
my dad, he watches our clips. He sends it to me saying, "Well, this is false." And I thought, "Oh, cheers, Dad. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback."
So yeah, but quality content is lacking. So, and I often sit there and I think these guys have had months to think up of something funny and something, especially the Canadian guys. Yeah, some of them is quite good, but and I think, is that the best you can come up with? I've come up best with that on a live on Friday night between 7 and 8, and I don't even know who's on the other line.
When you say quality, do you mean cover serious content, or do you mean if it's going to be funny, be genuinely funny, innovative? Is that what you mean? Or?
I mean, something thought-provoking.
Original.
Yeah. Original and thought-provoking, Something other than just silliness.
For the sake of silliness is what you're saying.
For the sake of silliness.
Because obviously in the task that we did, there were things that happened, but they weren't scripted. They just happened. Even when you were ripping us in the boardroom, which we didn't know what it was going to be like.
You went after him, man.
There were angles.
He's still scarred.
I went after everyone.
No. There were angles we just didn't know you would expose. And but for content-wise, it was so good. Yeah. Because it was unscripted.
You know what it is? What are we, third generation here, probably? I mean, I'm not. I'm second. Yeah. My dad came from India, and I'm first one, so I don't even know if we're first or second, right? But but there are 3 generations definitely here, maybe even 4 of Punjabis that are over here, right? And we still need to compete with everyone. We should be competing, and we should be making a lot more inroads in a lot of stuff than what we have. I think as a community, we have the biggest resources. We're one of the wealthiest communities. We probably own the most houses. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
Tax fraud, number one.
Number one.
Gold medal. Yeah, not mentioning Gravesend in particular. Yeah. And door number, the daru smuggling. But so we are in other stuff, we're lacking. We can't sort our basic issues out.
But do you think it's because we're very... So... Yeah. If you go back a couple of the generation that came here, right?
Yep.
Lots of ekta.
Yeah.
All together, blah, blah, blah. And now we're all we're all individualistic. We live in our own houses, we want to make our own gains, have our own portfolios, and we just don't think collaborative big picture. What do you think that's the issue?
Possibly. And I think you hit something there because as a community, so if doctors got a 4-bedroom house in Solihull, then Indy has to get a 6-bedroom house.
Yeah, he has to one up me.
In like Sutton, Then Harjap has to go to Leamington and get a 7-bedroom house.
No, Virginia Water.
Virginia Water, yeah. Or get a mansion on that estate with golf courses.
Yeah, went with.
I went there once to and the gatekeeper didn't even let me in. Because if you haven't got a Bentley or a helicopter, you can't come in here. I said, "Bere hon kisi di mang ke leke aune Right, but so we compete with each other.
Yeah,
not realizing that as a community we should be possibly competing with other, and at least paralleling other communities. If we look at the tarakki that we've done, I often sit there sometimes and I think Punjabi community is only good in songs. Punjab sada da, Punjabi sada.
I was talking about ekta in the song.
Yeah. In reality, it's non-existent.
No, not at all. Punjabi and the Dolly Anchijan. Where's our boxing champions? Where's our heavyweight champion of the world?
Okay, you're taking it literally. You're taking it literally.
Bassi's going for it.
Yeah, Inda Bassi's going. There's a Gully. Yeah. Gully Singh Pawar is going for it. Gulraj. So he's going for it. There's another Munda, Jordan Flynn. So they're going for it.
But on that one point there, because we're going to touch on this later about what you want to bring up, which is about parenting, right?
Yeah.
But again, maybe that's not a very stable career. Tusi doctor, lawyer, dentist, abano.
Yeah.
Tusi sports ki karna.
Yeah. Footballers. Like I said boxing, right? Let's talk about footballers. Let's talk about Olympics. Our people in the Olympics. Yeah.
Representation.
Yeah. Look, our representation is quite low.
True,
really.
But I don't think
compared to the resources a lot of us are privately educated. A lot of us aren't on benefits. We don't have to live in council flats. Council flat is almost like a curse word in the Punjabi community. Or consul ka renda. You used to look down on people who come from council estates and live in that. That's a fact. And I heard it, and you've probably heard that when you're growing up as well. Look at the resources we have. Yeah. But the fact is we don't channel it possibly in the right ways. We have a multitude of a surplus of doctors, lawyers, accountants,
stable income. This is what we've been.
I hope that changes while I'm alive. But if it doesn't, I'd love to in the next couple of generations that changes and we can actually make our mark as a community where people say, you guys are a force to be reckoned with.
But at some points where there is a lack of, say, natural talent when it comes to sport.
Yeah.
So Barcelona had an academy in India.
Yeah.
And they had it for years and they shut it down because there was barely any prospects. So
Barcelona.
It's kind of a chicken and egg situation, which is there talent there to be nurtured?
Yeah.
Or do we want to put kids in those scenarios to actually have an attempt to be nurtured?
It's all about where the mindset is. If they'd done one on drug abuse, who can take the most drugs? Punjab would have won. If they'd done on alcohol abuse, daru kaun pee sakda, innit? Kukkad kaun kha sakda, punn ke. So it's in Bhangra kehda pa sakda Leicester Square jaake. Yeah. It's in certain things, yeah. Did the thodi ruchi hai udhar nu? I don't know where the ruchi is going of our community. Why is it going towards these things? If you look at Afro-Caribbean community or African community, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ 19 ਸਾਲ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਆਇਆ ਨੂੰ ਜਿੰਨਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹ ਵਿੰਡਰਸ਼ ਚ ਆਏ ਸੀਗੇ, right? ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ 19 ਸਾਲ ਹੋਇਆ. Look how many players they've got in sports and fields like that. And it's not as if they haven't got academics either.
But they have natural athleticism.
Yeah, and they've got academics as well, and people in Parliament, and MPs in Parliament. I don't know where we're sort of going. And especially, I think it's the role of media and the role of people who are in the public eye to then say,
what about the role as a parent?
Yeah, role as a parent is very important. Now I'm a parent, to 2 kids.
Do you fill their head with ideas of I want to see you to be an athlete or this?
I haven't filled their head with anything. Let me tell you, a lot of people ask me, why did you become a vakil? Shall I tell you the honest answer? Because my dad told me to.
Do you enjoy it?
I didn't like the law. I enjoy it now, but I didn't then. I wanted to become a teacher.
But at the time you were told, did you have, let's say, enough independent buddhi to be like, I know there's other things, or you were like, no, I've been told this, so I karna.
I had blinkers put on me and said, do I karna? And so I did. And I didn't want to disappoint my dad. And we came from a working class background, which a lot of us probably came from. My dad worked in a foundry in Fords. He was uneducated, didn't go to school, didn't pass nothing, no certificate, same as my mum. Farming background, yeah. They said, but we don't want you ending up doing what we did. And the 1 year I didn't want to study, and I said, Dad, I don't want to do law. He got a shovel and he gave it to me. He goes, Alpha, what? Koi qualification nahi chahiye. I worked for a year. And I worked for a year with him. And then I thought, Dad, I'm padhi lana.
I thought
You learned the hard way.
I did a whole year fitting windows, doing all that, digging up foundations, mixing bonding with Hathanal and finishing, all the hard stuff, you know.
Yeah, but now that's actually quite lucrative.
Now it's wicked.
Now there's money in it.
My mate's a builder.
Tradesman.
He just bought a Bentley.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying.
He's in Wentworth Estate,
You
man.
made the wrong decision.
Man, 6 mahine ho gaye gaddi nu bhi dhoti nu. So it's like, I'm like, Shem, where'd you get out? That's like a 70, 80 grand car.
Yeah.
Nah,
Cash in hand, mate. Cash in hand.
Fancy the change. And I'm like, I don't know. Which
Solid fancy
change like
Yeah,
that?
cash in hand.
Yeah, so
Very weekend gaddi hai.
trades is very lucrative now.
Very.
It is.
Plumbers, electricians.
Handy.
It's all I hear now. It's
Worth
just
it,
like,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I often sometimes sit there and think, you know what, being a professional, you kill yourself. And, you know, you've got builders making more than you. And then,
But those handymen or the labourers do kill themselves too.
Yeah,
7 days a
100%,
week,
100%.
12 hours a day. Hard come.
they always
All
say,
weather, come hell or high water.
in Punjabi, they always say, right, duje da paisa, you always think Duja has more money than you,
correct.
right? Duje di naukri, you always think someone else's job is easier than yours or better than yours.
Yeah.
Oops. And duje di voti. You always think duje di voti is better looking than yours or gori than yours or whatever, right? That is, don't blame me, mate, I'm the messenger. Don't shoot me. That's what Punjabi say. That's what Punjabi say.
Court dekh lo.
Dooji di voti gori lagdi, apni kali.
Kali blood.
So nice and sort of racist to the max, Punjabis are. So that's just the sort of mentality. So yeah, we can sit here and say, I can sit here and think, doctor, I think you got it sorted. You can sit here and think, no, you got it sorted.
Yeah.
We can think, actually, both of us were Indy's got it sorted.
So I know what you said there, where you said, I don't fill my kids with anything. But obviously, there still must be some gyan guidance. Vidya you're giving them. So what is the high level then you are saying? What do you say to them?
I say, you know what? Do what you excel in. I always say, chase after excellence, success will follow.
Isn't that too wishy-washy for a kid though?
No,
don't they need like strict guidance?
Sorry, just so we get a bit of reference.
No.
Ages?
My kids are 13 and 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you want me to tell a 7-year-old? Do you want me to tell him, to Arban, like my old man told me? I definitely don't want to do that.
Right.
Should I tell you, though, some things that happen, yeah? So I think it's in our genetics that as we grow older, we become our parents.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's a fair hypothesis.
I've just had this.
I catch myself sometimes saying stuff, and then I think,
Daddy,
that's what my dad said to me. And I said, Harjap, don't song khadi si, you never say that to your kid. Then I have to check myself and I have to say, no, actually, forget I said that. That's my dad talking. That isn't me talking, you know?
But sometimes the opposite. Like I've now recently become a parent, so 14-month-year-old.
Yeah. And
I said now with my dad, and I said, you know what? I get it. And now that I'm a parent, I used to think when I was young and you got it all figured out. I'm the parent now. I was like, I haven't got it all figured out.
Yeah.
No one's got it figured out.
Yeah. To be fair, our parents done well.
Yeah.
If they come from, like, you know, if they come from a background where there's no education and they come from the fields, their kids are doctors and lawyers and accountants.
Yeah. Well, we say it more plain. We're like, we turned out normal, right?
Yeah.
Clearly, they did something right. Whatever it might be.
We are the last of that generation, and I'll tell you why. Right? I always call our generation people who are like maybe over 40. I don't know how old you guys are, but you probably look less than 40. But
appreciate that
compliment.
But I always call ourselves the lost generation.
Okay.
Appa na idhar de, na udhar de. Appa full gore भी नहीं बन सकते, and appa full Indian भी नहीं बन सकते. Sanu na साला udhar pura integrate होने देंदे. Na idhar we can't drop out everything we've been taught. All our Punjabi culture, we can't drop it at a hat.
We're still British as well.
Yeah,
the British
right. Yeah. And we're not fully accepted here either. So, like, you know, the hardcore British people, the ones who call themselves true English, they don't see it. They don't see us.
No.
They're indigenous population. They do not see it. They're not indigenous.
They're not
anyway.
though.
Right. Pakandea, right. So we are that last sort of generation. I said, Gahanu, it'll all change. The next generation's all changing. They're floating. My kids say stuff to me, and I'm sitting there, and I think if I said that to my dad even now, I'll be dead.
Yeah.
I'll get proper left hand.
Like what? Give me an example.
I remember I once said something to like Dad said, "Apani a glass like yeah," and I said, "Tu aap le aa." Should I tell you how old I was? 12 at the time, yeah. I used to wear glasses, yeah.
This would have been
My dad gave me a slap on this side of the head, yeah?
Yeah.
This side of the head, and there was a wall there, yeah? And I went bang, and I hit my head against the wall, and I had stitches here. 8 stitches here for a tappar, right? And I always blame my mum. She instigated it. Because when I said that to my dad, Dad probably thought, but mum, and mum said, देखा जवाब देने लग पिया. I thought if you hadn't a karshi fit, I could have got saved 8 stitches.
Yeah.
Then the same dad took me to hospital to get the stitches. Right. Yeah. So like that was just because I said to him, get it yourself.
Yeah. What happened to you? Yeah. I fell over. It was an accident.
What happened?
I ran into the wall.
No, पता नहीं रात ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਠਿਆ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ
I woke up like this.
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਕੌਣ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ from the window and he must have picked up my eye and tried to pull it out. I must have, yes teacher, okay, we'll let you off this time.
What's that thing called? Yeah, no safeguarding concerns.
Nothing wrong here. Nice happy family. No sign of foul play. No sign of any abuse.
Yeah.
Dad's a lovely guy. Strict moral principle guy.
Brought his son in to get fixed. All good. Right, so now your kids say this to you.
Right, my kids say to me, so I was like, even last week, I was like, give me a glass of water. Yeah. You know, go and get yourself. And then I sat there and then I recited the story. My dad was there. And I said, Chetta, Dad, tu idda kya si, main idda kya si. I said, now, hun je main idhe ch ped mara, you'd probably hit me for it again. Yeah. So why are you hitting me? So your dad, your parents discipline you for the silly little things. When you go to discipline your kids, they stand there like a wall. But in return, that's what, hold on, what about me?
They have sat and reflected on what they did.
No, they haven't.
That's not the reason. Because the grandparents can't see it.
Yeah. I think they were.
Shall I tell you why? It's because interest is more pyara than capital. Right, we are the capital. Our kids are the interest.
That's a very nice analogy.
In Punjabi, there's a khavat for that. Mol nalo byaj pyara. So the byaj, the interest, is more pyara than that capital. Sada ki hai, sada ta equity investment hai, or interest bar aunda. Every month they get their love every day. Beep baba, like that, and the that interest every day. Yeah, and we're at the stage now, like hardly when I come in, my mum goes, do the blonde, and I said, sorry, मैं बुलाया या, आज मैं मर के आना काम तो तू तो नहीं हमें 2 घंटे तेरे नाल गल्लां करा, and I talk for a living, and I said हमें तेरी सुना है ने, I said तू तो blonde ही नहीं फिर तू तो change हो गया, तू तो बदल गया, मेरा पुत मैनू प्यार नहीं करता, and I said ये थारी जुत्तियां बिना प्यार तो खांदा है, अंगाड़ा, ताई खांदे रहे अपन ने. So मैं सवेर ਨੂੰ 8 ਵਜੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਤੇ 6 ਵਜੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਮਰਦੇ ਆਉਣਾ ਬਿਨਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਆਉਣਾ. So I'm come and put the heating on in this house.
So confessions of married men is definitely
hang on.
Therapy.
When you look back on your upbringing then, do you think it was largely good or largely bad?
I think it was just like dysfunctional, man. Like aren't all our households dysfunctional if we look at it?
But how dysfunctional are we talking?
No, it's quite dysfunctional, isn't it? Because you got people here who have come from the fields, literally milking cows and slapping buffaloes' asses and saying move, or lucky ones drove a tractor, but in them days you didn't. Been sent abroad by their own dysfunctional parents at the age of 18. Get out of this country by any means. Yeah.
Get out of that plane.
Yeah, get out of the plane, make money, and send it back to us. Yeah, and if you can, call your rest of your brothers and sisters over
and set them up as well.
And set them all up. Yeah. Until a migrant or till our mums and dads got married, their sole job was to settle the rest of the family and pay off all of that debt.
Yep.
Right. So this is where the hypocrisy kicks in. Yeah. So we all say, oh, Sadi Jameen, Sadi Maya, and stuff like this.
Sadi Jameen.
Yeah, Sadi Maya. Right? Manu bech ke tha paaye hain. That's how much of a shithole India must have been. And I reflect on that every day when I see new migrants who come in. And I said, it must be so bad for you to have come out like of that place. Was that place really that bad? Because when I go back to Punjab, I don't think it's that bad. But I suppose I don't live there.
But I was going to say, the lens you visiting, fun karna,
But then it is, if you're poor, India's a shithole. If you've got,
India's one of the worst places to be.
If you've got 300 or 400 grand, mate, that's heaven.
You live like a king.
There's no country like India. There's no other place I'd rather be.
Driver, Khanala, Mali, you got everything.
Everything. Yeah. I had a friend come over from Delhi once, and well-to-do guy, and came over, and he goes, "Oh, I'm coming to London." Of about 7 days. I said, "Koi gal nahi, aaji sadhe reh li." Yeah. And so came over. He came over, and I went to get him at the airport at Heathrow, as you do.
Yeah.
I took his dechi. I took it to my car.
Yeah.
He was looking at me. I opened the boot, put it in the boot.
Yeah.
I said, Banja. And we drove back. And my house is not too far from the airport, right? So as I was driving back, and then he looked at me and goes, Baji,
not going to get to it.
No, he goes, "Tusi ਇੱਥੇ ਆਪ ਗੱਡੀ ਚਲਾਉਣੇ?" I said, "नहीं, Tony Blair ने अपना driver पे." And I said, "Oh, आया नहीं आज, है ना?" I said, "नहीं, मैंने चलानी पई." And then he looked at me and goes, he stayed. He was supposed to stay for 7 days.
Yeah.
After 2 days, I got a phone call from home at the office. He goes, Harjap, my mum and my wife go, Harjap, ये तो औखा है. And I said, what? She goes, ये तो बहुत औखा है. I said, what? She goes, ये तो रोज 3 सब्जियां पालदा, like mangda fresh every day.
Fresh. Yeah.
I said, so I went.
That's normal.
I went home and I said to him, I said, "Vire aye the." And he goes, I said, "Aa fridge kholi." I said, "Aa dabba dekhya dal da." And I said, "Aa Sunday ban di hai. Aapa fridge rakh de. Ye 7 din khani hai."
तू मंगी ਜਾਂਦਾ ਯਾਰ
ਸਾਲਿਆ ਇੱਥੇ ਫਰੈਸ਼ ਸਾਡਾ ਪਰੌਠੇ ਸਵੇਰ ਨੂੰ
ਢਾਬਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ
ਤੂੰ ਮੇਰਾ ਛੱਡ ਛੜਈਆ ਕਰਾ ਦੇਣਾ ਇਸ ਪਾ and I'm going to get kicked out right in my own house. I said, Mum's had enough. Right. After, he's supposed to stay 7 days, isn't it? After about 4 days, he goes, "Bhai, mainu kam bahut pੈ ਗਿਆ ਇੰਡੀਆ ਮੈਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੈਂ ਦੇਖ ਲਿਆ ਫਲੈਸ਼ ਸਾਡਾ." I said, he goes, ਇੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ cook, cleaner, gardener ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪ ਹੀ ਆ. And I said, ਹੋਰ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਈਏ?
He wants to go back.
I said, if you want to hire a cook and rack him at your house here, he's going to cost you $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
No? Or a gardener or a cleaner or a driver.
Yeah.
I said, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਅਮੀਰ ਲੱਗਦੇ ਆ like that. And he goes, no, but I said, your lifestyle that you have on your income in India
is doable.
You are kings out there.
But here, translate to that, multi-millionaire.
Yeah. And right, so here you'd have to be like, no, multi-millionaire.
No, I looked into it. If you want a full-time butler.
Because you got the money.
So, Doctor ਬਣਨ ਗਿਆ
ਦੇਖੋ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੈਂਬਰਗਿਨੀ ਸ਼ੋਰੂਮ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਜੇਬ 'ਚ ਪੈਸੇ ਹੋਣ ਖਰੀਦਣ ਲਈ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਅੰਗਰ ਇੰਸਟਾਗ੍ਰਾਮ ਤੇ ਹੀ ਦੇਖੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਦੇਖ ਲਾ ਮਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਲ ਵਾਲੇ
150 grand a year.
150 grand a year for a butler.
Live in good, like top quality butler.
150 grand.
ਟੀਕੇ ਵਾਧੂ ਲਾ ਦੇ ਰੱਖੀ 150 grand ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ.
You might know that guy. There's a guy who lives
I'm in the wrong profession.
and also near me, lawyer.
Me both, yeah.
He's got he drives that private plate. No, he's got a G-Wagon. It's private plate lawyer. You probably know him. And he's got a Lambo orange. I'll tell you afterwards anyway. But I don't know what he's doing. He's clearly killing it.
Obviously defending a lot of criminals.
Yeah, clearly.
Right criminals.
So it's so the lifestyles are totally different.
Yes.
And then when I see like people come over now compared to what our parents come over in, so our parents probably had a valid reason. They didn't want their kids to live the life that they had. A lot of our parents come from not really good backgrounds at that time. Yeah. Or there were family disputes and there were only kids and they had to get the kid out at that sort of stage. So my dad was an only kid. And we had a lot of land, but the fact was that our family picked up Banga with someone who threatened to kill my granddad's only kid.
Over the land?
Yeah. So then my granddad said, get this geezer out. And so essentially this is what it was and we talk about dysfunctional family. So you've got their parents, bereft of any love, all about discipline in India back home. Yeah. No any understanding of any special needs, of any learning disabilities, of anything in that time in India. Yeah. Right. So they used to send their kids abroad as a cash cow. And then you've got these people becoming parents at a young age and have a kid thrown into the dynamics. They married who they're told to marry. Nothing there.
Okay, yeah.
There's no date.
Love marriage. Yeah.
My old man didn't date. Yeah, so a lot of people watching it, they didn't date. Yeah, they didn't say मैं कुड़ी ना पहले बाहर जाके फिर ना 2 साल.
Holiday देखनी है.
तैनू मैं girlfriend दूँ.
Tinder करता मैं.
Right, so this is then that's of course you're going to get dysfunctional. Then they bring that same sort of level of discipline. But kudos to them because they were focused. They were focused. They were like, right, ਆਪਾਂ ਕਰ ਲੈਣਾ. ਆਪਾਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ privately ਭਾਵੇਂ ਪੜਾਉਣੇ ਆ.
Yeah. Pay them
ਆਪਾਂ ਪੜਾ ਕੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵਧੀਆ ਜੌਬਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਂਗ ਕੰਮ ਨਾ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਵੇ. And I tell you what, I have the utmost respect for our elderly women, our mums who came here, because you might have at home, and I have at home, still got it, a brother sewing machine.
Yeah, still got it.
Right? I've still got mine, right? I still got mine. It's not mine, it's my mum's, yeah? Those brother sewing machines, Yeah. And we as Punjabi should sponsor that company. And I'll tell you why. They brought up a generation of kids and paid for a generation of our uniforms, of our books, our school trips, our school dinners. Because our mums used to, all you'd hear from our garage is on a normal brother machine, the one with the little tail.
Yeah.
Another one. And the one you could lift up, yeah. And there was another machine called the overlock machine, yeah. And if you could do the overlock machine, you'd get paid extra. And someone used to come round with bundles of kapre, and I used to sit there with my mum as a kid, yeah. That's what mum used to tell me. And mum would say, and a lot of people now listening might remember, like of skirts. We used to make skirts for C&A. So there's a brand called Clockhouse, yeah. Wow. So those skirts I would see in C&A. And my job was to sew the buttons on a button.
Quality assurance.
Quality assurance.
Quality control. Right. So there's some girls out there, when they were young, were walking around with buttons sewn on by me on the skirts. But
claim to fame
for C&A. Right. So that's how focused these people were.
Yeah. So these mums were from
super focused, man.
If we take away the dysfunctional part, what's the bit you take, the gyan, that you're imparting to your kids from mum and dad?
Yeah. Yeah. There are people out you who are worse start-up than you've got, but can do well, have done well.
That point, I want to ask you now, as obviously a much younger parent, when you're trying to get your child to appreciate, have gratitude, like you said, you can say it, but do they get it, or do you have to actually show them? Like, do you go walking around council estates or go to McDonald's and show people are working in the 90s?
I'll tell you what you have to do. You have to go to India. You have to take these kids to India, and you have to show them appreciate. You have to show them kids begging at the station. You have to show them kids working in factories. You have to show them a 5-year-old kid holding her 1-year-old brother begging on the street, and saying that you have to show them blind kids over there. I have to take them to Unique Home for girls, which we're doing a fundraiser for in April, to show them that these are kids who are left at the age of 1, and they don't know who their mum and dad are. They don't know who their brothers and sisters are. They haven't even got a name. And BB looks after them. And I show them online a kid that was rescued by BB Prakash Kaur, who was being eaten by a dog in the Kuda. And she rescued the girl, from a dog's mouth. And that kid now is 17 years old. And BB raised her. And that she's got an education. And I have to show them that. And I show them those kids now. One of those kids is now in Canada. Got to study in Canada, raised from the age of 2 days old.
And when your kids see this...
When your kids see this, it will leave an impact, trust me.
Now, as in, do you need to then even have a conversation, or they just see it and...
No, we have a conversation.
We have a conversation, bro.
Yeah, about it.
Bro, you cannot expect your kids at that age to digest everything. It's like a story. This is a story. This is the beginning. Our gabla part, our meaty part, and this is the conclusion at the end. And this is the end. And this is our natija. This could have been any one of us. All it's down to that we were born in a different time and a different place. And it could be any one of us could have been those kids. And so appreciate what you've got. Appreciate what your parents do. You know, I still live with my parents. Someone asked me, and he goes, well, you know, you're nearly 50 now. How
you're killing it? Why have you moved out?
How old are you living? How long are you going to live with your parents? I said, that's a bit of a stupid question. And he goes, why? He goes, well, either till they die or I do. I said, for me, it's a non-negotiable. So when I was getting married, it was one of the things that I didn't negotiate on. I had an arranged marriage. So, and that was back in that days, right? So,
but you told your missus.
Yeah, I told Mrs. I said, look, this is one thing like not really is going to happen. It's not negotiable. I said, ho jo marji sharta rakhla. Do whatever you want. But it's one thing I am not going to be able to leave my parents there. I said, likewise, you know, I just can't. I said, I don't even care if you say let them move next door. Man, next door don't even Banda. I'll get a bigger house. That's what I did 2 years ago. So we have 6 of us living in a 3-bedroom house. I've got a bigger house. And I said,
now you have space.
Yeah. And I said, you know what? And I have found that sense of living together has installed great qualities into my children. My children grew up in this joint family, and they respect their bibi baba and they value their bibi baba.
I found that now.
Yeah.
Spending time with daddy, reading time.
Right. So my dad sits there and imparts gyan to my kid jara mere naal kade back nahi kita. And I'm sitting there and I sit there and I think,
interesting capital.
And I said, yeah, you know all of this. None of this. Why don't you tell me this, that you're sitting and telling her this?
Yeah, but then you're like, what the? I didn't know then.
Nah, not even that. It's like, and I'm like, well, what type of logic is that?
You have to learn by mistakes.
Right. So
how did you install? Well, no. I think the question is, if our parents came from India today to here, do you think they would still have had the same outcome? So if they were labourers here and then they were trying to make it, do you reckon they still would have the same success, or was it a really good?
They wouldn't have grown up with the same ethics that us lot did. I told you we're the last of that generation.
But you're talking more about the opportunity, the window.
I'm talking about the opportunity in the window to come here and make it.
Yeah, you can. There are people who have come here and made it. I've know people who came here 10 years ago. Oh, they've got about 6-7 out. So, and all in London. So, अपनी मेहनत ना बनना, जो बंदा बनदा ना, अपने आदर्शां दा, अपने असूल principles, अपनी किस्मत दा, and अपनी मेहनत दा. So, when all of these three align, then you get a result.
And when you say their morals aren't the same, what do you mean?
They haven't been brought up with the same things that we've been brought up with, the same discipline. So people who come abroad now, usually someone of their family has already been abroad. He's already abroad and he's been sending money back. With that money, these lot have been driving around and doing a lot of kulle ash. They haven't seen the tangi, bro. That's what I mean. So or tangi ni dekhi, or struggle ni dekhi. And if you haven't seen struggle, then sometimes you lack minute because there's no incentive because you haven't seen the bottom line. Only when you hit the floor, your buta hits the floor and your jeeb hits the floor and you taste ground zero, rock's bottom, do you then think, right, I've got to get up and I'm never going to be in that position again. Otherwise, if you've been sitting on sofas your whole life, you don't know what it's like to be on the floor. This is your comfort level.
So for our kids now, because we never want them to be that, the surrogate is just showing them what it could have been like.
Bro, you show them ground zero. You show them where your baby baba come from. I went there and I showed them and I said, look, this is a room your baba's built on. He didn't have a PlayStation to play on. He didn't have an iPad to play on. He played with like snakes, whatever, like gunne and stuff like this. And this was their playtime. And this was what they did. And this is what was expected of them. For women, it's when I look at how the lack of empowerment in women, I sit there and I'm in despair how this next generation of women coming from India are exactly on the same level as my grandmother or my mum, and that there's no progression. And in fact, there's regression. And that the ones from India, all that they've come to do is become baby making machines.
You're specifically talking about the ones coming from India, not the ones who are first, second generation here.
No, the ones here now are waking up. So the ones here, they're not going to go through the shit that our mums went through. They're not going to take the domestic violence and abuse. They're not going to take the alcoholic husbands. They're not going to take the drug abuse. They're not going to be slapped around or told what to do. They're not going to be told to shut up and sit home. They're not going to wake up for you at 11 o'clock when you come with your 20 mates. Roti bana. Chahida table te rotiyan la. ਅੱਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਪੁਰਾਣੀਆਂ ਬੁੜੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਮੰਮੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਾਂ 5 ਫੈਮਲੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਰੋਟੀਆਂ ਬਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਰ ਗਈਆਂ ਵਿਚਾਰੀਆਂ 100 ਰੋਟੀਆਂ they used to make when you used to have 3 families in the house. So the ones come from India are still on that level because they think, right, what's the first thing we need to do when we come here? Have a kid. We have girls come to study at uni, they have a kid before they finish the course. And then I sit there and ask them, for the girls from India, I said, if you went to college in India? She goes, yeah. I said, how many of your friends were pregnant in India? They go, none.
0. Yeah.
Right. And I said, well, what if you had got pregnant during your college days? What would happen? They go, we would have been in trouble. I said, why do you think now that you're in England, it's okay to do that?
Yeah. And they say?
And they say, Tiffany, can do what we want. Azadi. So Azadi too quickly as well.
Mate, so too much freedom.
Mate, it destroys you. It destroys your whole family and destroys your whole thinking. So it's being a parent. And I always say, what's the hardest job in the world? I said, being a mum. Being a mum. And then the second hardest job in the world is probably being a dad. So being a mum is still harder than a dad. I would say that. Because as a mum, thanu sara kuch angle dekhna penda. Thanu husband their reaction vi dekhna penda, thanu dekhna penda, right? My kid, every day. And the dads are still, stay-at-home dads I don't know about, but the dads are still not as invested in our kids as perhaps I would say the mums are. When I mean invested, I mean emotionally invested. As dads, we sacrifice everything to keep the house afloat.
I was going to say that's the big responsibility.
And no one sees that. And no one sees that. Yeah. And we don't get a pat on the back for it.
It's expected. You got to do it. Yeah.
Once again, Punjabi culture. Banda baari anda,
supposed to go and do that.
Bande da responsibility hai, tu kama ke kha. Yeah, tu kama ke innu de. And tera tabbar hai, tu paal. You're the man in the house. That's what we're fed into that thing.
You think that's bad though?
Bad for mental health, definitely.
100%. What's the alternative to that? Weak men?
Well, no, it's not. The alternative is apan sare ral mil ke apne responsibility nibhaiye. Every person in the house, right? As opposed, don't try and be a Superman or a superhero. Yeah, I've seen people trying to be Superman and superhero and bottle it all in and Banda. I've seen them. Sometimes hanging from a rope in garages.
Yeah.
I've seen them
because they melt down and they don't tell anyone about it.
Who are they going to tell? No one's going to listen. And they get to such a dark place. Imagine getting to such a dark place that your only way out that you see, I don't even want to live a minute more.
I say this to so many people because we see people in hospital come in. People say committing suicide is a coward's way out. I said, do you know how much courage you must have to want to end your life knowing it takes... We can do it.
The balls it takes to put a rope around your neck or to
exactly that.
Cut your foot.
It's not cowardly, man. Yeah, if I gave us each a bandook to pull the trigger, it's very, you're right. If that's the best outcome, you must be in a very dark place.
So when you say two people needed to step up, living in the UK, you need two incomes to pretty much get anywhere substantive now.
Or responsibility. Not just about income, Sana. You're right. Every household should have two incomes, Sana. But then one person has to be smashing it and then take on the responsibility, right? And where he thinks, okay, but not killing himself day in, day out for it.
For burnout.
That's where it goes. That's where it goes wrong. And as guys, we don't talk to anyone. So recently, in the past few years, I've tried to encourage people, especially guys, to appa gal kariye, beh ke, khul ke gal kariye, mera veer.
Without alcohol.
Yeah, without alcohol, fun. But the other thing is that if you don't want an audience, it doesn't matter. Tusi do jane beh ke gal kar lo. Apas vich, hai na? Apna tusi man halka kar lo, boj halka karo. There's no probably guy out there who's not going through what you're going through, what I'm going through, or at some stage hasn't gone through.
The fallacy is when you experience something, whatever the takleef is in your life, in your head, in menui ho raha. But then I went through dark patches. I shared it with Indy, and he could fully relate to it. Anxiety. I had really bad anxiety in the past. And Indy's like, he helped me, not really by saying much, but he just listened.
Being there, yeah.
That's it. And then I was like, oh, you've been through it. Oh, and you came out, and you're fine. So what did you use for strategy? And then you're just like, oh, we all have the same problems. The stories are different. Anxiety, depression.
But it depends on the emotional maturity of your friendship circle as well.
To be able to do
that conversation.
That's true.
And it depends, once again, that depends on their upbringing. Because what they saw when they're growing up.
It depends on their upbringing, but also their willingness as well. Yeah. Like, are you willing to open up in that way? Do you want to be vulnerable around your male friends?
Yeah, it's a very tricky one. And in our culture, do you want to be that? Right. So there might be a situation where you have a Gora friend and you might be comfortable opening up to a Gora friend because you want
more than it.
For an Apna friend.
Yeah.
And what does that say about our culture?
I used to think like that. I don't anymore.
Yeah, don't you?
Because I've made the right friends to allow me to have those conversations.
That's right. So you found the right people, maybe in your own community or in your circles, yeah? But you've had to go out and find them.
Yeah.
It isn't every other guy.
Yeah.
Right. So there you go.
It's a handful.
So I could probably go to a Gora I don't know tomorrow, a stranger, someone who's on the same sort of emotional level as me or same sort of education level to me, and he might want to listen to me.
And you don't feel judged.
And I don't feel judged.
In the same way churches have confession. It's a similar concept. It's just, it's impartiality, whereas what is he going to think if I tell him I have this?
Yeah, I think so. So there's so much, that is going on at the moment. There's so many dukhi people. I see people who have to put on a smile on every day.
Facade.
And they put on a facade, put on a niqab every day, a mask, yeah? And it covers all of the pain. And you wish you could help them, but they've got to reach out
and be wanting
they
help.
They have to want to be helped.
Want to be helped. So it's quite it's tragic, sad, and I'll be sitting there trying to work it out most days. And I just think, it comes from a lot of dysfunctional families, the fact that the pressure that our community puts on each other, the keeping up with the Singhs, I always call it. It's not keeping up with the Singhs. Yeah, Jones. It's keeping up with the Singhs. And it's hard. It's hard to keep up with the Singhs. When all your boys who you grew up with are now moved to, like Garrett's Cross.
Killing.
Or Chigwell, stuff like that, and you're stuck in Dagenham or Rainham, I'm being from where I am, or
Romford ain't bad, man.
Bro, I love Romford. I love it. I always go back once a year and relive my childhood. Actually, no, I do. It's like a pilgrimage for me. It's like a yatra. I go back once a year.
Yeah.
So now the Elizabeth line's open. Train down these.
Yeah, go straight there. Yeah.
So I don't have to get on the 406 before. I'll get on my 406 stage.
Going on that North Circular is death.
I used to have a escort, a manual. Yeah. मैं उत्थे 2-2.5 घंटे क्लच दब के मेरा तल्ला क्लप पे देखो and I could develop back problems just going
of course,
especially at that bend that near Highgate. I call it the Kutta bend.
Yeah, it is. That the queue fun. At that place.
Every Punjabi knows it as the Kutta bend.
2 a.m. in the morning, still already queue.
With a patrol.
Like how is there a queue? Thursday night, everyone go to bed.
1 hour just stuck in the thing.
Mate, be on that journey for a day and you'll understand.
Yeah, exactly. I did it for a year and a half coming from Rainham to Southall. And then I thought, I need to move to West London.
Yeah.
So leaving home, leaving Essex was a big thing for me. And I grew up in Romford and Rainham, sandwiched between Tilbury, and Dagenham, BNP days. There was only about 20 Punjabi families in my village in Rainham.
So Barking Gurdwara, that must have been your local.
Grays and Barking.
Yeah,
Grays and Barking was our local Gurdwaras, yeah. And so to get a bora of atta, we had to go to Ilford.
Yeah,
Ilford Lane.
Yeah.
Right, which is what? 7-8 miles? 10 miles?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah, 10 miles. And when I came to, so I grew up I went to school in Upminster, which now a lot of people live in Upminster, but didn't at the time.
Yeah, Upminster is the end of the district line.
That's right, last station of the district line. So I went to school there and I was the only Asian kid. Me and another Patel guy, Amit Patel, I remember. So me and him, and the rest were all Ungore. Yeah. So in our school. So I never grew up with Asian kids and I never used to hang around Ilford. Yeah. Then I did the total opposite. I went to uni in Kingston. So Kingston Uni.
Desi,
the first I walked into Kingston, the uni where the factory we used to call it, refectory, right? So we the dining area. The first Banda I saw walk in was this 6'2" lamba ucha gabru mocha photo. We were like Banja and a perm, Sardara Gill type perm. Yeah. Slapping his thighs, slapping his thighs, going, right? Where's this guy from? Yeah, where's this guy from? And he's like Wolverhampton. The Wolverhampton.
You're like, what's he getting for
guys are here?
Oh god!
Yeah. So I saw so many Asians that
was that a culture shock?
Man, massive. And for me, people saying, well, how are you culture shocked? Your Punjabi's A1, which it was. I did a GCSE A-Level Punjabi.
Wow.
When I did my GCSE Punjabi I was the only one in London Borough of Havering.
Where did you actually do it? Your school didn't offer it?
No, I had to go to a school in Upminster Bridge to sit.
Oh my god!
Okay.
And then I went to another school, Sacred Heart, where I sat. It was a girls' school, and I was the only one.
There's one in Chandigarh. My cousin goes there, Sacred Heart.
Yeah. I was the only one in that whole hall sitting there in the middle. So there's this big hall, and it was like me in the middle, with the exam paper and 3 invigilators. And I actually said to them, the invigilators,
you just 3 of you?
Yeah, I said, "Tusi 2 jane kar no chal jo chutti baad. Main copy ke nahi karni hai. Just on my own. I'm on my own here." And they go, we've got to stay here for procedure. But so that time,
trailblazer, man.
So, and then I did an A-Level, and once again, I was the only one.
In the room.
91 and 93, I did it.
Who forced you to go and do the A-Level in it, or was that a want for you?
No. So what happened was, when I was about 14, in the summer holidays, I was bored, and I said to my mum, "Manu Punjabi sikhal de."
Wow, that's from you.
Shout out, Mum.
Yeah.
No, but that's you asking.
Remember, our Gurdwara were in Barking and Grays, and they're 10 miles over away, right?
Still pretty far.
Yeah. So, and we couldn't go. So, Mum, in about 6 weeks, taught me Punjabi, everything, and I picked up quite well. And then I realized, right, I have to go and get some books. There's some books for these you can get, and
Punjabi made easy.
Yeah, right. Punjabi made easy. And guess where's the only place that we could get them from? Verdi Brothers in Southall.
Ooh,
so I got the train from Rainham. And I used to go to school by train anyway, so I was quite train savvy and bus savvy.
Okay.
Came all the way to Ilford, Verdi Brothers, and got the books, Punjabi Made Easy, GCSE Punjabi, written by Dr. J.S. Nagra.
Yeah,
that's it.
Who we recently honoured in the Houses of Parliament. You might have seen it on my social media.
Right.
So that guy is personally responsible for bringing Punjabi and GCSE
to the UK
and A-Level into the curriculum. There wasn't one. He writes the papers. He marked the papers.
Nice.
Now, right, and that's another topic we need to talk about, how there's a lack of kids now doing Punjabi GCSE, and they were going to take it out of the whole system until there's campaign recently. So we're involved in that this year. We're going around to gurdwaras and to schools and encouraging kids to do Punjabi and GCSE and A-Level GCSE.
It's a great initiative.
Take the uptake. And and that guy, he sent me some mock papers and I did that. And I remember I had a GCSE and A-Level Punjabi. I did my GCSE, I got an A. Then I jammed and I thought, I can do that A-Level, must be easy. Yeah. Right. And the A-Level, you had to read 4 books and answer essay-type questions, like an English literature exam. Right? And I was like, huh? Right, what's all this about? And my dad goes, do padya? And I said, no. And he goes, right. He goes, oh, the box room. We had a box room. And he goes, like, everyone. And he locked me in there. And he said to my mum, Harvan score? And kuch khano in there.
Jadon tak
and cha pani puchi hai. He goes, book ya. Tu padhi nahi. Pad ke nikli. And the book was Pavitra Papi by Nanak Singh, by V. Singh Di Sundari, and Pina da Praga.
And you had to read it.
Bro, one was a poetry book.
These aren't basic text, man.
These are basic text. This is not Bunty and Mindo. Go to the market.
You know, Punjabi made easy is Ette ja tenu salah. This is like
proper, like a proper book. Like, there are films made on it. Pavitra Papi is
Odyssey level kind of,
Right. So I read them and I sat the papers and I got an A again.
A-Level?
So remember, I'm already like,
This is back when it was O-Levels.
Yeah. But, GCSE had just been introduced, 91. And A-Level had been introduced in...
O-Level was GCSE, not A-Level.
AS levels weren't even about.
A-Level was A-Level.
93. AS levels weren't even about. Now they get A stars and all that. Man, I'll tell you star ki milda si. Right. So I grew up on a diet of Bollywood films, Punjabi films, Mayan Mitra films, and Punjabi songs and Hindi songs. So my languages were really good. I knew my language really well. That's where all my Hindi and my Punjabi comes from.
Which then, now, as you're in your role, must serve you so well.
I built a career on it. Right. So I'll be honest, I've built a career on it. So I act in Hindi films. My Hindi, I learnt from that. I act in Punjabi films. There's all of that. I watched it and learnt from that. So there.
And your kids now, Harjap? Speak Punjabi?
Yeah. So Kushi, she just won an award 3 or 4 weeks ago in Nishkam school where she goes to for Punjabi. And I couldn't be prouder. And I said, you know what, doing my science, math, English, for
Punjabi.
Punjabi channel. I'm like, yeah.
And is that you?
You're my daughter.
Did you intentionally do that? Or they just, because you're around your parents?
Around my parents. Because my mum and dad still to this day don't speak English.
So just passively, they've just been around.
Bro, all day, my always taste, my mum, 55 साल हो गए 55 years so sorry thank you please I remember once so a phone rang, my mum picked up the phone and she's going hello she goes, yeah no yeah and it was 10 minutes and then she goes Adekita Gora on the phone. I said, some poor Gora has spent 10 minutes talking to you, mum, and he thinks you understand what you're saying, and you're saying, yeah, no, and you didn't understand the word. And when we were kids, the best thing was when the doorbell used to ring, And the door used to ring, Harjap, Dekita kaun hai? And I said, mum,
he might kidnap me.
I said, immigration, it's a dodala, paise lena aaya. Ya dakiya aaya, sign chahiye. And like, dekhi da gora aaya door te, koi gora aaya door te, bomb to nahi leke aaya. Like, and you were just a kid. And by the time you were about...
But you had to act.
By the time you were about 11 or 12, if you weren't writing letters to the council
and having conversation,
you're not a true Punjabi. This is why we're the last of that generation, bro.
You guys are.
That's what I always say.
No, I remember doing that on the phone.
I didn't do that.
I did from my daddy.
Right. We are the lost gen, right? We're the last generation up and now. We spent half our life, in fact, maybe even 99% of our life, being translators for our parents.
Yeah.
Bro, we went to our own parents' evening. Baki gal chad. Our kids, now they just go for fun, don't they? With the parents' evening, because that's a requirement that kids just are doing it, meet your mates. We had to go out of necessity. My dad used to say, "Tu a teacher na gal kar, to mainu 10 teacher ki." And my dad used to just sit there and go, "Yes, no," and he used to give me a look like, "I'm going to have beats tonight." Right? And the thing was, they didn't know a word of English, but if you messed up in the translation or tried to pull a sly one, he said, "Edda nahi kiya, mainu pata." I said, "Je tanu pata, tu aap hi gal kar." Mainu kanu leke aaya.
And he's like, "They're going to beat me in public."
ठीक है right, कर जाएं but dad I got all A's तुम कर जाएं Right.
I had this in secondary school. Right. I'm sitting there with my dad. It's at the age where you have to go with your parents. Yeah, we had to at this point though. This is when we were older at GCSEs. The teacher said to it, I didn't do geography A-level, but this is my geography teacher. He said, he's number 1 in the year. Yeah. He can do geography A-level. My dad works prison service, right? He goes to Mr. Law. He goes, if you want to hit him at any point, you have my permission. And then Mr. Law said, Mr. Mavi, your son is exceptional. Yes, but if you want to hit him, go ahead. I was like, Dad, what's that? Our dads would all be the same. Imagine that, right? So our dads would be like, if you do anything wrong, you have my full permission. Pull. Half permission. Hockey. I know say nothing. Then you tell me.
He said that to a few people, but I've definitely said that to a few people.
Which one?
Is it? Really?
Yeah, he said like, you have my permission.
This is a sort of, I came from that environment and then I came to Kingston and just saw much for to go through
You like it?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah. I felt, do you know what I felt at uni? I thought, these are my people.
Yeah, you felt
this is where I belong. Where have I been all my life? Like, this is my people. And ever since, I've just been with my people.
But it gives you a nice duality because you were brought up in such a white place.
True.
You're able to roll in both.
But the parallel was you then were invested in learning Punjabi. Had you not done that and then come across it, maybe your take would have been different.
Yeah. And
really? No, hang on.
I don't know.
I went to a predominantly white school. My Punjabi isn't great, still wasn't great. Then I came to uni, met all these brown people. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, no, you did like it, but you 24/7.
See?
But didn't necessarily, you could have even just been a coconut and just be like, nah, this isn't.
I could have, but...
You could have, yeah.
What you deem to be a coconut is different to me. So I still had very Desi values. Yeah. I just lacked the language bit. However, the relation of growing up the way I did, the environment I did, was enough the same. It was still enough to translate to everybody else.
And it's a great advantage because me and him probably, we can be all rounders, I said. We can bat and bowl, like I said, and field. Right, so if you stick us amongst the Gordy, we can be all Cockney, know what they're talking about. We can speak with the Indy, we can be with the Punjabis and talk about whatever we need to be. Yeah. You know, we can go and mix with anyone. And I find that as a life skill, great as a social skill. Put me anywhere and I'll be happy. There's some up on here who like just grew up in Asian areas.
And that's bad.
And when they come to, they don't know what to do. They can't sit with Gordy and they can't
assimilate.
Talk about them. So when I met people out there at uni and asked them, what are your mates' names? Yeah. And they're like, oh, Amrit, Minda, Jinda, Sodi. And they're like, what are your mates' names? Mama, Peter, Paul, Daniel, Jeff. And they're like, Jeff, what? Robert, Russell. Russell? I can do that.
Brandy?
Oh, me, kya glass liya the do. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? And it was brilliant. For me, it was like an awakening. And I've loved it since. And I just thought, been with upbringing people. And yeah, it's all damn thoda different see mahal different siga. It's different now.
Okay.
You know, and you as a parent, let's go back to where we were as a parent, you think about all of this. Right? We think about all of this, what to good for our kids and what isn't for our kids. And then I think sometimes are we overthinking it? Right. Our parents, how much thought did they put in?
This is my final question. This kind of section to point up is what's your take on when people say parents now? Yeah. This generation, your kids, my kids, they're softer. You're protecting too much. Then because they haven't had the struggles, and we're not going to allow them to have the struggles. Soft hoya now. What do you say to that?
Never exactly.
What do you exactly. Yeah.
Should throw them into the fire. That's like saying, well, throw them into the deep end and let them swim. What if they drown?
So then the follow-up question is, as a parent, we wouldn't do that. Then how do you foster resilience without doing that?
Right. Then you have to sort of throw challenges at them. Only ones that I would think that they can probably handle or maybe excel in. Also sabnal, as opposed to the ones that maybe were thrown to us.
That might shatter them.
Yeah. Right.
Go and drown.
Exactly, right. So we have to change with the times. Right. Otherwise, the times leave you behind. So if we cannot say that kids nowadays aren't brought up like we're brought up, because the generation that we were brought up in, the times that they're not around anymore. No, they don't exist. Right. So then we have to look at the times now currently and look at that and look at what they're brought up in. Technically and technology-wise, they're way ahead than what we were. What we were, right? So we weren't on that level. And art-wise and thinking-wise and conversation-wise, But practically-wise, So say if they had to change a tire or the car broke down, or if they said radiator to pani kad de, stuff like that.
Bleeding valves.
Fix kad de.
No, I can't do that, Baji. But I've learned now, slowly by mixing with my wife's dad, my dad. They having some putte ways, but
having your own house as well. That's
having your own house obviously makes you be able to develop skills.
Responsibility. That's the key word. Yes.
It teaches you everything. Yeah. And when as a responsibility grows, like having kids
is a responsibility.
Right? Makes you more responsible.
But then you as the parent, are you actively trying to give responsibility to your kids so they learn that then?
Well, do you try
like budgeting, etc.?
Yeah, well,
that's a good example. Yeah.
That's a good example. So I haven't taught my kids how to budget yet.
Yeah. What's their understanding of paisa at the moment? When they look at you, they think ATM, cash machine, or what's the...
What do you think? They think
But have you ever said to them, we haven't got money?
Every bloody day.
Every day.
And after that,
he broke it.
I have to say, this is why I say I've become my dad.
Yeah.
And right, some I'm hearing what mum dad said. Why you left this light on? Banda karo. Thode bure nahi bolte na. And then I remember, actually, bure nahi bolte na. Right, so turn the heat down. Amy, bhai thand lagi kambal ke pe aaya to kambal pao.
Yeah, that's me.
Bhai thand lagdi hai.
I got to his house yesterday. Yeah. I got there. So I got my little one.
Yeah.
So he's very nice. He put the heating on because I got a little one. Then he shows me on his the build tracker. These guys, they have don't have the heating on so much. They've built so much credit with the energy company. They're going on there, please.
Every month saying, please stop topping up. I'm like, no, I'm still going to make the payment.
She's like,
just in case I need to turn it on like for a long time.
2-4 hafte holiday chal ja, leave tera sara credit chal ja. So yeah, I mean the life skills are so important. So when I went to uni, I had friends who come from Asian households there for Gravesend lot. They didn't even know how to write a check out. And I was in like shock. I was like, you don't know, I've been writing checks since I was 11.
Yeah.
And I thought, you lot don't know how to write a check out. They're like, no, we don't know how to write a letter.
You should have charged for that at uni. You'd have made a killing.
Yeah, smash it.
Side hustle, Pudgy.
Do it now. That's for immigrants. Right, so...
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੱਕੇ ਬਣਨੇ ਆ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਭਾਈ ਕੁਝ ਚਿੱਠੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਖਣੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਏਗਾ ਮੈਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ
additional service
5,000 pound.
So it's the thing is it's I would say that those skills that we learnt now, they're probably different now and different ways. I 100% I sit back and I think, you know what, I need to do this and this, but we on sara time ਦੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦਾ ਸਿੱਖਦਾ, you know. And once again ਆਪਾਂ ਕੀ ਸੋਚੂਗੇ, ਕੀ ਦੇਖੂਗੇ. A soch ke, you can't kill yourself. You can't kill yourself. I've been there. Before COVID, I went over West Brom. I always on a Tuesday. Yeah?
My ends.
Yeah, right. So West Brom on a Tuesday. I went to the town centre. I had a jacket potato. Yeah. I had a jacket potato with cheese and peas.
You think a sportsman?
Yeah, no.
What are you a sportsman?
No, right. Maybe I should have.
It's a heavy meal, man.
Maybe I should have that day, right? So, right. Came back home and I said, gassed, I said to Mum. And Mum goes, Acha. And I said, yeah, I said, roti nahi jidda beh jandi hik te. She goes, yeah. And she goes, roti beh gayi hik te. And what Mum's allergic to everything? What's the Desi Mum's allergic to everything? Cha pila.
Vicks, paracetamol.
Had a cup of tea, went to sleep, thought nothing of it. In the morning, I still had sort of like gas here, right? So I thought, I know what, I ain't been gym for a couple of weeks. So I went to gym, done a 5K, went for a swim seam song. I felt a little bit better. Went to work. Then,
oh my God, you're going to tell me you had a heart attack.
Right. So Wednesday night, Mum goes, I said, Mum, she goes, koi gal nahi. Thursday, I got up and I do the school run on Thursday. So Mum goes, oh, halle tera dardiya hunda, chest stretch. मैं कहा हाँ. She goes, इतना कर न्याने नु छड़ दी. Hostel चल गई 9 बजे. उत्थे कोई नहीं होना. ना तेरी बारी छेती आ जानी. Dropped the kids off. Yeah. Drove in to a hospital. I wanted to go Hounslow shopping that day, but drove into a hospital. Drove in myself.
ECG.
Went to hospital. Yeah, I said, look, right. I went to West Middlesex A&E. Song lage. First time in my life I've been to an A&E, and I've been to A&Es a lot. And like in which is not a good thing. I'm saying it as if I didn't need a medal. Right.
He's a doctor. He feels very strongly about it.
Yeah, right. So I went,
but he's saying he's going for the right reason.
Went to A&E. No one there. So I went straight to the receptionist. I said, you know, chest pain, gas yonder. And she goes, all right, we'll take you in. Done an ECG. She goes, no, it's all right. And she goes, must be gas.
Blood test.
And she goes, and I said, right, can I go? And they go, no, because you said you've got chest.
Blood test.
We've got to do your bloods. Yeah. So I said, all right, Carlo. Right.
Phone in.
Right. So They done a blood test. I'm sitting here on my phone. Yeah. Right. My charger really lucky. Yeah, my battery.
Oh,
right?
God.
Right. So, right. I'm sitting in A&E on the Lamap. Yeah. All of a sudden, I see 5-6 doctors huddled in front of my cubicle. And they're talking and they've dropped this.
Wait, hang on. What do you think it is?
It's a heart attack.
Right.
But they haven't told him yet. Well, this is the thing. So they're all shitting it.
They've said some words, yeah? And one of them's troponin.
Yeah.
Right? And I thought, what's this? And I've Googled it, and it says enzyme released when heart's under attack.
Yes.
And I thought, right. And I called the doctor. I said, Atia, right? And he goes, right. And I said, doctor, what's wrong? He goes, there's something wrong with your heart. And I said, you better fix it. I've got things up my friend. And he looked at me. He goes, in English, he said, well, the translation Punjabi is, job wake bhaiya, jeno phone karna kar la. And he said, you need to phone who you need to phone. When he said that, oh, shit, man.
Sorry, did he say that phrase?
Yeah.
That's not the right phrase.
He said, you should phone who you need to phone. And I said, why? He goes, we're going to take you in for surgery.
A procedure.
Yeah. And I said, what procedure? And I said,
stent.
What? Yeah, stent. Yeah, right.
Okay.
So he goes, you're lucky. And I said, why? He goes, it's a Thursday and our cardiology team is in West Mid on a Thursday. So anyone who's got a heart trouble and lives in the south of Lebanon, well, Thursday's the day to go to West Mid. Right. So then I phoned, my kids were 6 and 1 at the time. Yeah. And this is just before COVID. I phoned Dad and Dad goes, my ayah, yeah. I phoned Mrs. and she goes, my ayah. And I wanted to see my mum. And my mum's with my little one who's 1 year old. So I WhatsApp called her. It's the hardest conversation I've had without actually having to say a word. I couldn't get my words out. I was looking at Mum and I started crying and she started crying. For the next 8-9 minutes, we just there crying each other. Not a single word's been said.
And she doesn't know at this point then?
No, then after about 8 minutes, I said, Mum, heart attack. And she goes, right, I've been having a heart attack for 2 days. They said, if you hadn't come in the next 11 hours, you would have been collapsed on the street. Right? Yeah. And so I just looked at her and she goes, Chalo pot jo Rabb di qismat, did the mums do, right? That's the blind faith and all that, yeah. And so my dad came, and my dad's there, and he gave me so much hosla, bless him. Yeah, he'd had a bypass before,
okay,
so he knew what it was.
It gave you comfort.
Yeah, so they took me in. They stented me in.
How many stents?
Well, I remember because I was awake.
Yeah.
Right. So we
done a reel on this about the angiogram.
Yeah. I know that bit, but I thought it was.
No. There's two things. Stenting is not the same as bypass. Bypass, you're fully out.
Okay.
This is stent. You're awake.
So they put this dari through your eton, right?
Angiogram.
Right. And it's like as if a spider's crawling inside you. Yeah. And you can feel it. Yeah. And I was feeling it. And all they said was, don't move. Yeah. And I said, why? And they go, like balloons. I'm going to inflate them in your nard. But they tell you how percentage-wise bad your nards are. Yeah. Right? So they go
95%.
Yeah. And they go 98% this one.
Yeah.
I said, what, 90% good? And they go, no.
You know the mother pass ho gaya?
Right.
He started.
He
started.
Oh, I said, so you mean I got 2%?
Yeah.
You got 2% capacity of blood going through you.
Fuck it, don't tell my dad.
Like that.
It's going to be parents' evening all over again.
Yeah.
Fail it.
Tu jida, main tenu marda. Right. So, right. And then they stented me. They go, basically, we just saved you.
Yeah.
Right. And then they said, right, this is what you need to do. You need to change your whole lifestyle and everything. And I thought, I'd changed all of that. And I'd been quite good. I was very low on the booze. I'd very healthy. Used to go gym 3 times a week. And then I sat there thinking, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਖਾਂਦਾ ਪੀਂਦਾ ਸੀ properly, ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਇਆ. As soon as I gave it all up, right, ਮੇਰਾ heart attack ਹੋ ਗਿਆ. But then I was there, and when you're looking at a ceiling, a white ceiling for 10 days, lagatar, it's a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
So then they said, you know what? You need to have a bypass. You should have a bypass. And I said, a bypass? And I said, I'm only 44. They said, no, because you're young, it will help you. Right. So then 2 months later, I went to have my bypass.
Oh, you have had a bypass?
Yeah, I had a double bypass.
This is big.
Right, so
this is like you're in ITU after you.
So I've got a massive cut here, and you can still see it. They cut you open like a bakara, basically, right? So they had first of all, when I went into my bypass, everyone in the ward was about 65 plus. Wow. Everyone in the ward, except for one kid in the corner, Gora, was about 19. And I said, "What are you here for?" And he goes, "Oh, I got a hole in my heart, so
congenital heart disease."
Right. I was right. And He said, what are you here for? I said, I've got a bypass. And when I had a guy next to me, he's about 70 years old. I was like, what are you doing here? And I said, you know what? I'm sitting here asking myself the same question. What am I doing here? Why am I here? You lot tell I said, with all due respect, this is God's waiting room. Yeah. And I said, but you know, what am I doing here? Right? And they go, yeah, why are you doing here? And it just hit home. And I had my double bypass at Chelsea and Westminster.
Okay. Yeah,
right. And what lifestyle changes have you made since?
Well, for the first year, I was really good because I was feeling, but you're like proper, innit? So like
scared.
Yeah, but no. So the booze cut down. A lot of carbs are cut down.
Okay.
I cut down on.
Are you diabetic as well?
Yeah, diabetic type 2.
But insulin, no insulin?
Metformin.
Only tablets. Okay, good.
Yeah. So yeah, that didn't help. But I tell you what, I've done it. Years of eating out, not giving a shit, and then when you're eating out, having a few drinks, and just not have no stable diet, no monitoring of sugar levels. So I didn't used to monitor them. Now I have a monitor on my arm.
Libra,
the free Libra price.
So my wife has the same one. Yeah, but she's type 1.
Right, crazy. And we just then I realised, you got bamari called diabetes. You're gonna have to monitor it. And I said, if not, you're going to be back here again.
Yeah.
And they won't be able to do another bypass. You'll be gone. That day, before I went in for my bypass, when they make you sign all the paperwork and everything, right? I'm a man who's on the ball with my information and stuff like that.
Organised.
I didn't give a shit about my phone. And I'm a guy who doesn't go to the dirty without his phone.
Yeah.
It's in there. It's on there. Even when I flush with one hand and one on my phone. I worked out the angle of them. This is me. I'm honest with that, right? So that's
Bluetooth
right.
headset.
I didn't care about my phone. I didn't care about my car keys.
Yeah.
I didn't care about my jewelry. I didn't care about my watches. I didn't care about my clothes. All I kept on thinking, the second thing I prayed before going to under.
Yeah.
Right. I said, Abba, menu kal da suraj dikhal de.
Show me the sunrise.
And I said, just show me the sunrise tomorrow. And I said, fucking, I will sort myself out.
You make the promise.
I will sort myself out. Since then, I lost like 25 kg. I used to be about 125 kgs.
Really?
I'm about 101 now, 102. Nice. I still want to get down to about 88. So was still working on it. But yeah, I used to be like, that time I didn't give a shit because I was like tall, 6'2". I could always carry it off. So so if you look at my old videos, you'll see, fucking hell, it's huge. It's not your widescreen TV. I was that huge.
My widescreen.
It wasn't the lens.
But yeah, so I was like, that really hit home. And then I went on national media telling everyone, look, and went on TVs and podcasts like this. Everyone, look, if you get that gas feeling. And I made this video while I was you might have seen it, in my hospital bed I was. Okay. I was on my hospital bed the day I was getting discharged. I made the video.
Post.
Yeah, and I put this and I said, look, this is what's happened to me. Because I hadn't posted anything on, and I post something on social media nearly every day. I was like, everyone's like, where are you? And I was like, well, I can't get hold of you. And I was like, this is what's happened. And this is what happened to me. I remember the day I had a heart attack and I went in, I had a phone call from one of my mates. And he goes, are you in hospital? And I said, yeah, I'm at West Middlesex. And he goes, you all right? And I said, yeah, I'm all right. I've come to see someone. I had to lie to him because I didn't want to tell him I'd had a heart attack because no one knew. And he goes, oh. And I said, what are you here for? He goes, I've just come to A&E with someone. And he goes, I saw your car in the car park. And that car was there for the next 10 days.
Yeah.
Right. So, and
how high was the parking fine?
Yeah, Brad, I used to have to send my dad in every morning to pay them. Like,
they're waiving now.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
What,
you tell security.
They said, bro,
if you're dying,
and cut you open like a bakra. And on top of that, they said, "Salt on with there."
Yeah, donation there. NHS.
Right. So, and I remember I had to lie to him, and then when he saw the video, he goes, "That was you in hospital that day?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "What's that?" And he goes, "I saw in your video," and everyone, and that video was seen by thousands of people, right? And BBC Radio 4 picked it up and interviewed me about it. Asian Network did. So I told everyone this is what had happened to me.
Awareness.
And I remember after that, I got about maybe 20 messages from people saying, in a couple of weeks, 2 weeks afterwards, one said, we were driving back from a wedding, me and my dad, from Bristol. And he goes, My dad goes, I got a bit of gas in my chest. And he goes, I remembered your video. And he goes, I took him straight to the hospital. It turns out he was having a heart attack. And another one goes, Banja, you're lucky that you got to the hospital in time. He goes, my brother died in the waiting room, waiting for the doctor. One goes, Banja, you're lucky. My dad went to sleep saying he got gas or tennis. And then when these messages come through, and I was like, bro, and I think I made a lot of people my age think about their lifestyle, especially the pub heroes, as I like to call them. The people who go to the pubs, who go Midland Alley every day, mixed grill every day, not every Friday, but every day. Some of them go like every other day, Jello, Kai beer. And a lot of them said, look, yeah, we're going to try and sort our lives out. And I said, you're not the only one. I'm trying to sort my own life out. Yeah. I said, you can I put all my emotion there, everything that I've told you about. It was twice as powerful, that video. I was saying, look, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling, because I had to get it out of my system. I thought, I had to unburden myself.
Yeah. But that's good of you to do because you use your social media platform for the right reasons.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's had an impact.
Well, that's what it should be for.
Tangible impact.
Education. I always say, doesn't matter what the problem is, the answer is always education. That's my phrase.
Well, speaking of education, Budgie, I need to move the conversation on a little bit.
Go on.
Because you know a lot about land in India.
Jameen baare. What was the line earlier?
Mate,
Jameen meri maa.
Okay. Harjap.
Meri maa.
Harjap, can you give us a step-by-step process?
Giving the context is, we've got land.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
We have land in India.
Yeah.
Our parents have passed.
Imaginary scenario.
We don't know what to do.
You have land in India. What do you do
practically?
To, number one, redeem it, sell it, and bring the money back
Sort it out.
if your parents have passed and you have no connections over there in India?
Give us
First
step by step.
Right. Let me tell you the exact scenario, right? I've seen more land deeds from Punjab than there is actual land in Punjab. So that's so
first problem.
Yeah, you're talking to the right person, right? Right. That's because there's a lot of forgeries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's now a way to see your land in your pind online. It's called e-Patwari. So e-Patwari,
land registry,
it's a website.
Okay.
You can find your pind.
Spell the website, Budgie.
e-Patwari. E-P-A-T-WARI.
And it's their land registry.
So that's a lot of the Pindani land registries online.
And it's official?
It's official government.
Okay,
right?
fine.
So e-Patwari, right?
E-Patwari.
Otherwise, let me tell you something. The only way to find out about land, there's not even an office that deals with it. Are these people in pins who sit in pins, they haven't even got offices. They're called Patwaris. Yeah.
What does Patwari mean?
A Patwari is a guy, is a man who holds all the registers for a certain pind. And he holds the book. And it's all in this old book register. It's all manual ledgers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to find this guy. Now, you'd think a guy important like that would have an office. No. Right. So he's a work from home guy. Right.
Does he work
who travels? Who travels? So what? Every pind provides him a room in the pind.
Yeah.
And says to Etiona, and you can work for our pind.
Does he work for the Sarpanch then?
Yeah. He works for the government. He's a government employee. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
So, but they don't have an office. Yeah. These guys are the hardest to get hold of, especially when a foreigner wants to find out about a land. Right. So your land is in something called there's something called a registry. Which
yes.
you might think it stands for registry.
Yeah, that's what
which is what I thought. But it's actually a deed. It's a deed to when you a sale deed or a purchase deed.
Okay.
So it's not a registry at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there's something called a fard. F-A-R-D-H. Yeah. Okay. A fard is a copy of the land register. And in English, you would call it office copy entries. Okay. Or in legal terms, you'd got a copy of the land register.
Okay.
A land register. It's manual and it's all writing on it and it's filled with numbers. Yeah. Now,
Sudoku.
Right. It is worse than Sudoku. Sudoku, you got a chance of winning. You're on your fard.
Harjap, you are giving me anxiety.
I've just drawn one side of the A first. Right. I haven't even drawn completely the A. Right. You got this. When you see a fard, you'll never be able to understand it. And luckily, I've seen so many that I know how it is because I had to sit down with a Patwari and do a crash course on how to read these buggers. Yeah. Right. So a kid is what they refer to as an acre. Right. Yeah? That's split into Kanala and Marle.
Which is
Marle. There are 8 Kanala.
8 Kanala in a kid. 8 to 1.
And there are 20 Marle in a canal.
What's a canal?
Yeah.
It's a smaller piece.
Canal is a part of an acre.
Like a piece of land.
Piece of acre, yeah.
Why have they broken it down?
It's actually spelled canal. It's in English, C-A-N-A-L.
Canal.
So instead of having like
hectare and
etc.
Exactly, right. So in an acre or a hectare, they would have 8 canal, and then you have B marle,
right,
in every canal,
Okay.
So you've got all of that. Is it share canals? That's one. Anyway, right. Look it up, Google it, man. Right. Anyway, right. So you've got all these canals in a. In fact, let's find it.
Go on. Have a look.
Right. Fact check.
Canals.
Here we go. It's a denomination. That's the point.
It's a denomination.
So it's basically it's
like you said,
size piece of a land.
Yeah.
How
Size
many
piece of a land. Okay.
Canal.
in
Canal.
What was the other word? Malia? Male?
Malle? What is it?
8 canal, I was right.
8 canal.
Right. And it's 20 marle, right?
There you go.
Male.
Right. So you have 160 marle in a kate. In a kate.
Okay, yeah.
In a kate. So when someone says mere do kate yeah?
Yeah.
So that means or 16 canal
Yeah.
yeah, or 320 marle.
Yeah.
Right.
Depending how you want to talk about it. Yeah.
Right. So it's split into like a
320 subplots.
yes. Right.
Oh.
Or 8. Right. Let's
Of the bigger plot size.
That's why. And then if there's 3 brothers who own the acre, or the dad dies and leaves that his
equal
1 acre
or whatever.
to 3, then you have shares of like enne canal, enne marle,
Is that the reason why they have the denomination at all?
That's why you have sometimes on there 1/8. You'll see, why is there 1/8 written on my land deed?
Yeah.
Of 1/8 canal.
It's your hissa.
One tera hissa. It's on singada, amon singada.
Have you ever seen 16?
Singada. Yeah. So you've got like, it goes crazy into like.
But does it go to like 16ths and 30seconds to 60?
Well, it goes into 160s then, doesn't it? Because that's what marle over there for. So if it goes into like,
just rein your anxiety in.
Right. Yeah, right. So when someone passes away, a landowner, you have to have something called an intikal. An intikal is effectively division of that land between anyone who's an heir to that land or who's beneficiary of that land.
Irrespective of will you're talking about now. This is just
usually according to the will.
According to the will.
But in India, right, even if you're not named on the will and you're a kid, you can still demand your hissa.
Yeah.
Including ladies.
Just next in whatever
not just guys.
Why? If it's written on the deed, it's left to this person. Who even dares?
Inheritance laws. Yeah, here you don't do that, right? But over in India you can. And here's where.
So by inheritance law, you're allowed to.
Yeah, and so if you don't leave a will, then it automatically gets divided amongst all the children. And that's why sometimes in the olden days you might have heard, so the guys had to keep it sweet with the sisters, because otherwise the Jwais would take over that hissa that was on the sisters.
Okay, so let's say in this hypothetical scenario, my dad passes away.
Yep.
He has land with his brothers.
Yep. That all needs to be split up.
It's left to me and my siblings.
Yeah.
Do the brothers have ownership rights over that as well?
No. So that land should already be divided up. If it isn't divided up, then it has to be divided up, right?
It already has.
Right. So if it's been divided up, then you'll get a share. Yeah. Now, the problem comes here. Yeah. Your share, say if there's 1 acre, and you get a quarter of that acre. Now, your kid hits the road.
Yes.
The zameen with the road is worth more than that.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is. Yes.
Right. So you probably have these combos in your house.
Yeah.
Where is the land? You're like, where?
This is like bread and butter to me. This is like making roti.
Yeah.
Right. So then you have to sit down with the other guys who are entitled to the land and work it out between yourselves.
Who gets the road bit and who gets the end?
Yeah, or how much, or do you get that hissa?
And if that's been solved, then what?
Right.
I'm really projecting my own life into here.
Don't worry, mate. Right. If that's been sold, then you have to work out the market value. You have to litigate and get their money because usually no one's going to give you jack.
And if you're trying to do that from here, how do you litigate that?
Mate, you can't do it from here.
Really?
You have to be on the ground in Punjab.
The only lawyers with jurisdiction in India can do that. It's a bit like you saying to me, buddy, I've got a flat in New York. Can you get it cully for me?
Right.
By being in England. And I said, no, mate, I haven't got jurisdiction to go to court in America. Right. Same thing.
So local on the ground.
Courts in India.
As you have to go to where the Jameen is in India, get a local lawyer there, file a case. This is the biggest problem facing people our age now.
Because?
Right. I'll tell you why. Right. Our parents are stubborn.
Yes.
As fuck.
Right. Yes.
Just don't project now. Just,
no, this is true.
Just listen.
Talk to me, Harjap.
Right. They are saying, "Oh, Jamina, mere 10 pushta ancestral nahi bich." ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਵੇਚ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਤਮਾ ਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਣੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੂੰਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਲੂੰ yet you tell them dad you won't have a move because when I press that button at your cremation ਤੇਰਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਜਲ ਜਾਂਦਾ all that's left of you
your body's a vessel
all that's left of you ਚਾਰ ਦੰਦ and maybe a ਨੱਕ ਦੀ ਹੱਡੀ if ਜੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ you know ਬਾਕੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੱਡੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ right I said ਉਹ ਤੇਰਾ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ right forget that they're like ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਮੂੰਹ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਦਿਖਾ ਲੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੇਚਣੀ and it's like ਮੇਰੇ ਮਰੇ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਜੋ ਮਰਜ਼ੀ ਕਰੀ and then you tell him dad I don't know F all about that country. Tere mare to baad main ki karun and I ain't got time to go and walk around the courts every week in that country. I have a life here. I can't take more than 28 days off work otherwise I get sacked.
Oh, Harjap, man, you are singing from my actual...
So free...
You're singing from the notes in my head
5 years ago, I did a TV show like we're doing now on TV with my dad there and me there. And we argued it out live on TV. And I said, Dad, you and your generation, you have to sell your land. And he's like, no, we're not selling. And we had callers coming in saying, no, your dad's right. And I had callers coming in and say, you're right. And I was like, you have to sell it. And I said, do you know what? Because kids my age, and I'm a guy who goes to India 4 times a year.
And you're fluent
in Punjabi. 2002, and I'm fluent in Punjabi, and I can read my language.
But that's rare. That's rare.
Right. So I'm a very rare, right? I'm rare in that respect. And I say myself, and I say, I wouldn't have a foggiest, like, you know, mere utte pair nahi lagan dene. It doesn't matter who I know. I might know Modi, I might know Bhagwant Mann. It doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't mean right. I wouldn't know anything, right? Because out there, your own relatives, have got your eye on your land. If you think every time you go India, they follow you around because you look like Akshay Kumar, I would like to tell you, my friend, you do not look like Akshay Kumar. Maybe Shakti Kapoor, but definitely not Akshay Kumar, right? And it's not because we're pretty or good looking that they go, Hanji, Hanji, Bhai, and then Magar Fed there. Their one eye is on your land. They know that you ain't going to have a clue. They are waiting for your old men to die, and they are waiting then to sit that land. Kabja. You then go and say to your relatives, Meri zameen da hisab kitab deo. They say, Kera jo hisab kitab? Right. Right. Je tusi England anga tappan lage la I'm going to shoot you. I'm going to throw fans with you. Yeah. They will call a haldar, not even a tanedar. A haldar is just a normal policeman. Pay him 10,000 rupees and get him to slap you up there and then. You and your kids will never even think about India again. You'll grab your passports and be on the next plane out there. Alternatively, if that land is worth say £200,000, they will pay 800 quid to someone, get a 13-year-old from UP or Bihar with a handmade pistol who will come and blow your brains out and he will disappear off the earth. That is the bottom line. That's what I've seen out there.
So that's not
right. So
you're not overthinking that. That actually happens.
Of course it happens. There's a guy who went to India and over a jameen about the size of his table killed his own brother. And he's a multi-millionaire. There's the owner of the Ramada Hotel in Wolverhampton. Remember, he got killed and thrown into Right. What do you think that was all over? Right. So this is all over this stuff. There's loads of people, and they don't care if you're NRI or not. They don't care if you're a British citizen or not. Jaggi baitha ya jail kinne chir to. That right. Unhu kinna free karta. Nothing's been proven against him. Right. Right. So they don't care. Your British passport ain't worth.
It's way too
fuck all. Worth fuck all out there. Right. So. This is why I said, I was saying to Dad, I said, you have to sell it. It's your land. When you came here, sunshine, you made an unconscious decision Yes. And he then, counter argument is, actually, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਇਆ ਮੈਂ ਸੋਚਦਾ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਚੱਲ ਜਾਣਾ ਮੁੜ ਕੇ 5-8 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਚ ਫਿਰ ਸਾਲਿਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੰਮ ਪਏ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ and now I'm stuck here because of you lot. And I said, regardless, ਮੈਂ ਪੁੱਛ ਕੇ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੰਮਿਆ. It's a decision that you did, right? Now, I don't want your responsibilities. If you're telling me you have got land worth 2 million quid, we have got 52 acres of land. My dad's a millionaire in pounds in India.
In assets, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but not here.
Assets, right. And I said, मैं मरन डे
ਇੱਥੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ 7 ਦਿਨ ਦਾਲ ਖਾਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ
7 ਦਿਨ 2 ਡੱਬੇ ਜੋ ਦਾਲ ਖਾਣੀ ਪੈਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰ ਦੁੱਧ ਮੁੱਕਾ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਨੂੰ ਉੱਥੇ ਦੁੱਧ ਪੈਣੀਆਂ ਚਾਰ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਉਣੀਆਂ ਮੇਰਾ ਮੁੱਕਾ ਮੈਂ ਚਾਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਾਲੀ ਪੀਣੀ ਪਈ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਗ੍ਰੀਨ ਟੀ ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਮੈਂ ਦੁੱਧ ਮੁੱਕਿਆ ਸੀ and ਤੂੰ ਇੱਥੇ 2 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਬੋਰ and you're saying ਮੈਂ ਵੇਚਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ and there's a possibility that all our ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰ are going to dub that or ਪਿੰਡ ਵਾਲੇ are going to dub that jameen for free. My son, you have got to go and sell it. You got to sell it for whatever price you can get. And you got to bring that money over. That's your headache, right? And now this is what a lot of kids are now waking up to. When I say kids, I mean people my age, like 40, 50, are waking up now and saying, and they're saying to their dads, and the Bude are now realizing this because there's been a few cases where Bude have popped it.
Yep.
And the kids are going to get their Jameen and they've been told to F off. And that Jameen is lost. And I had a guy coming crying to me, he goes, Harjap, this is a true thing. Yeah. He goes, I went to India, went to my relatives. Yeah. He goes, Daddy pure ho gaye, aaj Jameen si saadi.
Yeah.
Hai na? Sanu paise de diyo, us hisab de, aapa ki karna hai? He goes, they looked to me and he goes, kaade paise? ਕਾਦੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੇਰਾ ਪੇ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਂਝੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਚੋਂ ਪੱਲਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਉਹਦਾ ਵਿਆਜ ਪਾ ਕੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ
meaning what Harjap?
Meaning when your dad left out of a joint family to come to England he came out of our joint money and then one brother had to stay behind and your
this
dad
is our hissa back now we're taking
right and we're our hissa we didn't ask for our hissa that and with interest then he goes his counter argument was well, until my dad got married, he kept on sending money back to you and must have paid you back 10 times over.
Yeah.
They go, we don't give a shit. They go, you know what? There's nothing here for you here.
They've decided.
Now, get out of here in 10 days or we're going to chuck
Have you done?
Yeah, we're going to chuck you. That guy came here, never said it. He goes, basically, because of my dad's stubbornness, I lost 200 grand.
So people get bullied out of their land in India, is what you're saying?
Bro, if someone can mar your land for free out there in that country, you think they're not going to? Just because what? They're related to you. They don't give two shits, mate.
You've thrown a few numbers around, Harjap.
Right.
200 grand, is that average?
I would say so. So one kid, if it's in a prominent place, is worth anything up to 50,000 to... If you the word crore, when you hear the word crore, think of 100 grand.
Yeah, we know this. Yeah.
Right.
Not me.
So if someone's saying 2 crore, that's 200 grand.
Yeah.
So 50 lakh, when you think of 1 lakh, think 1,000.
Yep.
Right. So 50 lakh is 50 grand. And if you've got 8 acres, that's 400 grand. Right. Now, if you had 400 grand here cash, your old man here, and it went to your relatives, you'd be fuming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'd be fuming. I'd be fuming over 5 grand, let alone over like...
£100.
Yeah, 5.5 You spent your whole life asking for 20 quid off your dad and you get a tupper in exchange. Then I switched it. I said, Jere, why are you giving that away? Man, well, I didn't say that about my dad. Yes, but still. But example-wise, right? Right. So that land has now become the dushman of people like you and me.
So the advice is...
Right. So what the advice is, I would say to you, if your dad's here, I would sit your dad down and I would explain all of this to him.
In your life,
sit here and I say, look at him, And
I knows all this.
And I'd say, look, and my nakani, but I'd say to you, I'd say, just roll with it, I say, look at him. And kuch nahi pata. है ना काक नहीं पता इन्हें ABC नहीं आती है ना इंडिया का कुछ नहीं पता है ना कुछ हो नहीं है ना तो यही समझ ए लुल लिया है ना मैं ना करी right and I'd say ए लग लूँगा एक कचहरियाँ कर लूँगा इन्हें सही रेट में दे दूँगा कोई ज़मीन दा I said even if it's worth 10 लाख इन्हें 1 लाख वो नहीं देना उन्होंने 50,000 रुपया दे के कहना go I said right sell it अपने हथी बेच दो
in your lifetime
bring that money back and this is the key because they think as soon as that money gets here us greedy kids are going to go gobble like that and kick them out of their house. No. I said, uncle, tu paise apne kool rakh, apne bank ch rakh, jo marzi ka na kar. Tu flat le do, apne akhan de samne hoge, oda rent le. I said, je tu nahi kharchne, tu beh ke byaj le.
But it's yours.
I said, tu Vegas jaake red or black te la de. It's your money. I said, it's your money. We ain't going to get it till you die.
Harjap, I need to bring you down to my house and have a word with my dad.
Not only you, I bet there's like 300 people watching this show now who think, right, Harjap knows that. Have a beer. Harjap knows blah, blah,
another one. From a purely accounting perspective, let's say that £2 million you've got. When you sell it India side, what you pay tax there and you bring it in here?
You have to pay capital gains
there. And then when you bring it here. UK income tax.
So you only pay it once.
But capital gains India side. Money comes in England, then income tax or?
No, because you already paid tax on it.
No double tax system.
No, you don't get double tax.
Once it hits
I don't think so. I was chatting to an accountant about this. So I did a show with an accountant about it. But I think you only get taxed once on it. Okay. But apne bande don't even want to pay the one. That's the problem. So the alternative is, I always say, right, and this is what some other people do, and I've done in a couple of cases, So that money out there, you can reinvest it.
Okay.
Right. You don't have to buy farming land again. Flat le lo, Chandigarh.
Sell it, but buy it there.
Bombay flat le lo. Delhi flat le lo.
Is that easier to...
100%.
Is that easier for us to maintain after they've gone?
Yes, and because it's a gated community, security, you have the keys to your flat. Just don't have a tenant in there. So basically, in India, to get a tenant out,
basically stop buying plots of land and buy houses.
Well, no, but I would say buy flats.
But are you saying that because...
Or flats, sorry. Buy actual property, not pieces of land.
Yeah. I tell you what, farming land, what are we going to do on it? Are you going to plant potatoes and go and harvest it? No. Well then. Whereas a flat will appreciate in value and you can sell it.
But are you saying that because you go to India so often?
For me, it's worth it. Because I know, for me, one, I get somewhere to stay. So I got a flat in Jalandhar to stay. And I got a flat in Chandigarh to stay. And I go there 6 times a year. If I didn't go, or if I was going once every 6 years, I'd bring the money over.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's, I think, where you're coming from. If you want an income source because you're going to be there all the time, it's cash flowing assets. That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, bring it
Or use that, or pay the tax on that money, buy somewhere in Dubai.
Harjap, in this perfect scenario then, let's say you've got your parent to agree, okay, I'm going to sell the land. What's the time frame roughly on getting the agreement of your parent to sell and then being paid the money?
Your parent could agree tonight. If your parent could agree tonight.
No.
He's saying money in the bank.
I'm talking about
money in the bank.
Money in the bank.
Parent says,
all depends how quickly someone wants to buy it. But the problem is, right? And here you get another problem. Right? Ek problem nahi mera veer.
Isn't there a problem in the courts of how long it takes?
Mera veer ho gal chhad appa court tak to pahunch hi nahi
Right. Too far ahead.
All right. Buyer, finding a buyer. Yeah. Right. Who's going to buy your pendali, you mean?
Barely anyone.
Right. Do you know who's going to buy it?
Your chacha.
Other pendali. Neighbouring people. Yeah.
But the plots on the road surely are a bit more commercial.
Right.
So this is thinking I've got the road piece.
Right. Yeah, it depends where your road is. If your road's in a bend, who wants to buy it there? We only want to buy it on the main road where I can build a hotel or a 5-star resort. Right. And then you've got to have enough on there for me to build something on there. There's no point in you having one kid on the road and saying, Paji, A-Level. And like, that's a Banja, don't I? What do you want me to do there?
Our table like that. There's plumbing.
I'll take you, Garna. You know what I mean? Dance karna. We only got one little bit. Right. So, the pendali know that you are NRI, you've come from India for 3 weeks. Yeah? You're going to have to go back.
Yeah.
So they say, Koi gal nahi, here's our offer.
Negotiation.
Only about like 20% of what it's actually worth.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And you're going to say, right, okay. And they're going to say, well, you've got no offers and you have to go back and you want the money quickly. So loads of people are having to sell it at undervalue. And when I mean undervalue, I mean like
significant.
Yeah, 20-30% of what it's worth and just taking the money and running. Yeah.
Or that or nothing.
Right, come back again. Then come back again every time airfare, every time off work, time away from family, headache, finding a family. And what they do out there is they with the property. So you go to a property developer or a property agent and say, right, I've got a land to sell. Your relatives or the pendale would already have met him and say, Bande ne hona, or that offer na accept kari. Here's 500 quid. Just tell him that you ain't got any offers, it's worth this. We'll sell it together.
And take a
and I'll give you backhander from it. Right. Everyone's in on it. Forget land. When you go shopping for suits, when women go shopping for suits from here for weddings, and your rishtedar take you to a specific place, a shop, they've already been to that shop, told them
commissions.
Oh, no wonder they take you to the same shop in bloody
sales commissions. This is mad.
Oh my day.
This is what happens. You're dealing with a country where that happens.
Sales commissions.
Because I'm going through this.
Hey! Balle.
My dad passed a few years ago.
Yeah.
We managed to do the
Integral.
Yeah. We managed to sort that Integral out. Luckily, because my mum's around.
Yeah.
But have you seen people that of our generation that have managed to get it out, get the money out?
Yeah. It is possible. It is possible. But you're always going to be at a disadvantage as to if your dad does it when he's alive.
So do it in your lifetime is the biggest advice.
Mate,
but lowball that as well. Though,
I've spent the last 5-10 years trying to tell my mates' dads, and it's got through that to see uncle, beach though. Because
they will lowball dad like now if you try to do it because they'll know you're trying to sell it for your kids because you're getting old.
Hey?
Won't they do the same thing?
Well, what's more important?
But then your dad knows the system. He's born and bred in that country, right? He's born and bred in that country. He knows the sliminess that goes on and all that. They won't be able to pull a fast one on him as much as they can pull a fast one on you, right? And they know that.
Yeah.
And they know that.
Yeah.
And they know, yes, I did far ho gayi. Yeah. ਆਪਾਂ ਐਸ ਬੰਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਵੀ ਬਣਾ ਕੇ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਆ but with you ਤੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ reason ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ the only are the smart ones right the smart people from England on my advice people like me who tell them what to do we play the game double game on them
which is
right so we flip the game which is this look ਹਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੋਈ ਗੱਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਵਿਕਾ ਦਿਓ ਸਾਡਾ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਮੁੰਡੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਰਮਿਟ ਪਾ ਦੂੰਗੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਬਾਹਰ ਲੈ ਜਾਾਂਗੇ
the offer
the only thing that trumps the land is the V for visa right
that's the real
when you sell them the visa dream that look how many kids you got yeah don't worry I'll pull one of them out no problem Mangland Sutherland मैं sponsor कर देना that's like dung that's like okay why do I want to harp this man's land and do him out of a few luck when here's my little golden goose and this golden goose is going to lay eggs for the rest of the next 50-40 years this lull that
therefore you have to pay market value
this lull I've given birth to
that's it
so you get
the dumbest one
so you get them to agree the actual market rate with the agreement
bro if you were a farmer and your 3 kids were putting one up your backside every day saying dad manu bar page send me to Canada and England and you had some joint land and a rishtadar come over from England and your rishtadar said to you you know what I can get all of your kids out I'll help you get all of your kids out no problem but you just got to help me sell my land for market value are you going to try and pull a fast one on him knowing that he can shut your doors for your kids or are you going to think right he's going to pull my kids out and this comes down to the whole chain it's a fucking chain it's a chain this is why I get Budde coming to me and saying Harjap appa main hun apne bhanje nu bahar leke auna and I'm like why and I go, nahi, main ke aaya hun mainu karna pena. The reason they ke aaya is because these guys have been sambing their jameen and they don't want their jameen dubbed for free. They want market value for them and they've offered to take their kids out in exchange and now they have to fulfill their side of the bargain.
Okay.
There's all a matlab behind it. When you look into it deep, there's always something behind it. No one's doing nothing for free.
I'm with you. Okay, fine. That's happened. You got the agreement in place. Why do the courts take so long to push things through and settle
Because in India, it takes ages to do anything. They do say that the British introduced bureaucracy into India and the Indians perfected it. So that's a common saying in India. So the British brought bureaucracy in, but the Indians mastered it at bureaucracy. Everything they have to fill a form. Right, I'll tell you another true story. I had a problem with customs. I had a problem with customs where I bought a couple of bottles in extra in Delhi. So they unhone jama kar liya. And they said when you come back, take them. Now they were
on your way out.
They were expensive bottles, like 500 quid bottles. Like the Blue Label, the big ones. The King George ones. And people who's drank them don't know them, right? So I thought that's not something I wanted to leave behind. So I was in India. I went there and I had to. All I needed was one form signed. One form I needed signed.
And it's pass ho gaya.
That's passed, right? Went there Monday morning. They said Monday aaja. Went there Monday morning. Sat there 8 o'clock onwards. जी मैं फॉर्म साइन दिल्ली मैं फॉर्म साइन कराना आया ओके कोई गल नहीं बैठो About 10 o'clock जी मेरा फॉर्म नहीं और साहब तो चाह पीने गए हैं ओके come back still waiting at 12 o'clock नहीं जी साहब दा लंच टाइम हो गया right still there 2 o'clock नहीं जी ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਚੱਕਣ ਚੱਲ ਗਏ
ਕੰਮ ਕਦੋਂ ਕਰਦਾ
ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਆਇਓ I was like hey fucking ਚਾਹ ਹੀ ਪੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ he's got a better job than anyone else right bro I got that form signed on Friday. Every day I went. Every day at Delhi.
You went Monday?
I'm a lawyer.
Monday you went, yeah?
I'm a lawyer. I'm a well-known guy. I'm a connected person. Where you're stuck in India, you are stuck. Right. And I'll tell you another true story.
No, sorry, just about that. Is that laziness? Is lack of efficiency? What is it?
It's you're from abroad. I'm going to show you who you are.
Okay. Put you in your place.
Jealousy.
Put you in your big place, yeah.
Jealousy was put you in your place.
I'm doing this because I can.
In spite.
And you know what? You are going to have
What if you sent somebody else to do it for you who's from India?
Right, okay. I'll tell you right. I went to India, open an office, मैं बिजली दा मीटर लाना सी. So I thought I'd be a proper English, phone up the British gas equivalent India, right? I said मैं बिजली दा नंबर मेरा बिजली दा मीटर हाँ जी कोई गल नहीं ला देने right ला देने अच्छा every day हाँ जी ला देने कोई गल नहीं हाँ जी भेज दे बंदा right भेज दे बंदा been about bloody a month I haven't got any electricity in my office So I'm having to wire it from next door's office, hot wire it, And met someone out there, one of my guys, And he goes, "Harjap, ठीक है?" He goes, "नहीं यार, बिजली का मीटर लवाना सी लवांदे नहीं." मतलब एक आधी गल है, हुणी लवा दिंदे. Picked up the phone. He goes, "हाँ जी." He goes, "फलाना बोलदा." He goes, "ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਭੈਣ ਨੂੰ है ना?" He goes, 3 ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਭੰਗਲ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਮੀਟਰ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਆਓ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਗੋਲੀ ਦੇਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਫੁੱਦੂ ਸਮਝਿਆ ਇਹ ਲੋਲਿਆ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡੋਂ ਆਇਆ and I'm thinking hold on are you fucking praising me get my meter done or are you cussing me here right and then he goes ਅੱਜ ਸ਼ਾਮ ਤੱਕ ਮੀਟਰ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ
ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ
bro the guy came in the next 2 hours yeah ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੇਰੀ ਭੈਣ and he said that right that's I want to the next bit right in 2 hours he came and
this is where the show came
up and running and I'm sitting there thinking you know what Harjap that's the first like in 2003 when I went so fresh green faced and all that no I'm 28 years old
A-Level in Punjabi
A-Level in Punjabi thinking I fucking knew it then I thought Harjap you cannot stay in this country and do business England style this is not England from then 2003 I adopted all the Indian natures and the culture
ਗਾਲਾਂ ਕੱਢੋ
this is exactly what I do ਗਾਲਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਚਿੱਤਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਪੁੱਛੋ ਜੇ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਾਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਦੇ right?
This is why my dad speaks to them like that. I understand now because he said it's the only way. It's the only way shit gets done.
Bro, I'm telling you,
we're all like, you can't speak like that. He's like, they are humans.
If you say you can't speak like that, teri pen chokka bhai, and you go right. So that's the way shit gets done. So then I got my shit done. Then it's about knowing the right people in the right places. And that's what I've done. So I know people right from the top government ministers. Right to the lowest person, and you need to know everyone out there. You should have a good lawyer out there, a good doctor, a good driver. There are 3 people that you 100% need if you want to do any sort of business or you want to stay alive in India. There's 3 people that you definitely need. And selling the land in India. Anyone who's watching out there, anyone who's like me and probably don't have a clue, and you go India like for a holiday, right? And you don't know how much rent you're owed, you don't know how much your land is worth. You need to have that conversation with your dad to sit down and say, Dad, that you know you have to deal with this yourself. Otherwise, you're going for free. I remember my dad goes, "Je main zameen bech deti, to meri atma nu shanti nahi honi." I said, "Je koi free dab gaya after you're dead,
definitely shanti
I said, "What are you going to do? Come as a boot and come down and go, ooh, scare the people off?" I said, "No, Dad, you're going to be dead." And you know what? I'm going to be sitting here thinking, my old dad fucked up 200 grand against a wall for his relatives who took it, and you didn't give it to me, And I said, out of 200 grand, and even if the government took 40% and took 40 grand or whatever, at least I could have done with 100 grand here. So why wouldn't you want to give that to my kids? Imagine us withholding 500 grand from our kids and fucking I said, Anal, to Louis there in front of me. I said, burn it in front of me and see how much meri atma nu kini shanti ho.
Joker.
Pook there. But you have to, this is the way you have to get through to them. And then they sit there and go, and then like a lot of the guys who their parents I talk to, they go, Harjap, udda teri gal theek hai, eh lulla to kakh nahi hona utthe.
That's how you have to get them on side.
Right. So you have to say, all right, Dad, I'm the lol. I don't know nothing. You're the man. You're the man. I bow to your knowledge and your 8 fail certificate.
I've done this too.
Right. I said,
ego, but he doesn't need to hear from you. He needs to hear from third party.
He doesn't need to hear from me,
Job, you're coming to my mum and dad's for dinner.
I'm going to spend next 600 days at people's houses.
I'm organising this now, Baji.
Listen, I want to cut out of it 10%. I'll go around to anyone's house.
I'll give you
know what I mean? You know what I mean? 15%. I'll even pay for my own petrol. I'll come to your place. I'll do it. No problem. It's all a matter of convincing. And I'm telling you, it needs to be done. It took me about 4 or 5 years. I had to take my dad on a national TV to like...
Wait, so you've done yours now?
Yeah, definitely. We've only got 4 acres left. I've only got 4 acres left. So we've done ours.
What did you start with again?
52.
Bloody hell. So you moved on, man.
Smashed it, man.
Yeah. So,
wait. So that means you can get a butler now. No dal 7 days.
Bro.
1 year you can get a butler for that.
Bro. I've done it, but guess where the money is? With the old man. With the old man, isn't it? It's the old man's account.
But which is what you said, though. That's right, though.
So which is what I said. I said, Dad, I don't need it. I don't want it. But at least it's yours.
It's yours.
Your thing is yours. It ain't going to anyone for free. And I said, at least I don't have to go to India worrying about getting a bullet in the back of my head. Or my kids can go out there and I don't have to worry about any of them getting kidnapped. Bro, it's not above people in India to kidnap your kids.
No. Bad.
Right. People need to hear that.
And then forget your Jameen. You'll end up selling your house in the UK just to get your kid back.
You do anything for that? Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, this is what I'm saying. Our jari Jameen is sadi dushman ban jana. It's becoming a dushman. It doesn't let you sleep.
Lifetime.
It's not letting you sleep. You're getting anxiety over it. Yeah,
I got it now.
You're having friction with your old man about it.
Look at the fear of my eyes.
You're having friction with your old man about it. Right? Bro, it's a feather here. And like, I still get some people saying, no, boy, like I get this. Oh, what's a jat without the Jameen? right? And I said,
bro,
when's the last time you done farming?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. When's the last time? I said, if I show you 10 types of aloo, could you even tell me what type?
And look, if you want to go there and do proper kheti, karo. Yeah.
Right. And I said, Baki, appa vi jatte hain, but we got common sense. Yeah. Which judge do you know who fooks 500 grand?
Exactly.
I don't know anyone. I don't know anyone who do that. Right. So the fact is, brother, this is money. This is like a lottery win. For some people, it's been a lottery win.
Do you ever say to people, over time, most assets will appreciate.
Yep.
So do you tell people, leave it, the value is going to go up?
No.
Or as soon as you can sell it, sell karo.
Because if you leave it for the value goes up, how do you know how long your old man's going to be around for?
So when you have the opportunity,
I'm 44 and I was having a heart attack. If your old man's 82, like mine is, are you going to guarantee me he's going to be around just so your value property you're going to appreciate? Are you going to bank that on that?
Fair.
No, mate. Well, listen, now's the time. And what do you know what the laws are going to be like in the future? Whether they let you bring that money, whether they let you sell that.
Good point.
Yeah. Whether they even let you in.
Capital gains tax.
All I have to do is cancel your visa tomorrow and India not let you in. You're finished. If India say tomorrow, I'm going to cancel your visa, I'm going to put you on a blacklist, you ain't going in. You ain't going in, you ain't selling your land. You're finished.
This is a slightly side point, but you know when partition happened?
Yeah.
So this is what I've been told. My Nana ji originally in Pakistan, which is Pakistan.
A lot of
loads of land, 100 acres of land.
Yeah.
Then that's there. He then had to relocate to Patiala.
That's right, and they allot them land.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
So where did that land go to? Who does that go to?
So that land went to the government of Pakistan, the original one.
And then they distributed it.
And they allotted it. Because they're people who came back from India had nothing.
Indy, 100 acres.
That's a lot of land.
100 acres.
What about...
That's at least about 4 or 5 million quid nowadays. Cash.
How do you get rid of people who are squatting in your house or land?
In India?
Yeah.
You pray or you pay.
Pray or pay. I love that. Pray or pay.
Pray to God that they leave or to die, or you pay them to get out. Or in the end, what most people have to do, end up giving a house to them.
Give them something, okay.
Bro, never have a tenant in India. Never have a tenant. This is a lawyer telling you, never have a tenant in India. Because once if that guy's been there 20 years, you ain't getting that property back. You end up giving it away. Right.
A squatter's right's big in India.
Bro, I'll tell you a story, right? So this happens with people who come from Kenya, right? So a lot of people who went from India to Kenya, Uganda, and then they came here, but they had Jameen and they got registry papers for it back home in Jalandhar. So I had a guy come to me. He goes, "Bhai, aapa sadi family Kenya gayi si, aapa Kenya to aaye hain." And he goes, "But I dekho meri Jameen di registry dekho." When I had a look at it, Jameen registry, it's in Model Town. Yeah, and I said in Model Town in Jalandhar, and it's worth a few. Then it was worth about maybe 600,000. Must be worth about 2 or 3 million now in today's price, right? So I said, "Well, what happened? Didn't you go and get it?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Main dekhya paper." He goes, "Main gaya si India." I said, "Ki gal hui?" He goes, "Main India gaya." And he goes, "First I couldn't find it. Yeah, because I couldn't find an empty bit of land." He goes, "Then I found it, but I wasn't sure the address, and there was a house on it." So he goes, I went up to there. He goes, I knocked on a door, and he goes, door khuli kisne? He goes, "Yeah, a big mota sardar aaya." And he goes, looks at me, and he goes, "Haan." He goes, "Bhai, mera itthe plot siga." He goes, "Hoga." He goes, he goes, "Koti thalle aa gaya hona."
Bloody hell.
Shut the door. What happened then? And he goes, "I went to a lawyer out there," and he goes, "Look,
what can you do?"
He goes, "You ain't going to get that back." He goes, "We can litigate here. I can spend thousands on it. Takes ages on it.
No guarantee.
You're going to get that back."
But why are squatters' rights
he goes, "Hoga, koti thalle aa gaya."
Why are squatters' rights so big in India?
But it just because the court process takes so long. Do you know what the backlog is for India? So if you stop all the cases today and see what the High Court backlog is in India, 300 years. It would take 300 years if we stopped taking new cases and just dealt with a backlog to deal with the backlog of cases in India.
And how do you get precedent? Is it just who you know?
Bro, it's all about who you know.
Fast track.
It's all about who you know. And everything tariq padan there. You've seen the Sunny Deol film, tariq, kuch nahi mildi. That's exactly what it is, tariq hi mildi hai. Nothing else. You don't get nothing out there. Listen, you're going to a country, you're asking for justice, you won't get justice. an actor allegedly killed a black buck. We all know who we're talking about, Salman Khan. Yeah? That was done when Hum Saath Saath Hai was being made. That's about in the 90s, bro. Bro, isn't it? And where he ran over them people on the sidewalk, that case is still going on. ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੋਠੀ ਦੀ ਪਈ ਆ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੇਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਈ ਆ ਉੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦਾ ਮਰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ 50 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਕੋਈ ਕੇਸ ਆਉਂਦਾ
ਪੁੱਛਦਾ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਸੀ
and listen, I am telling you, and I'm telling, this is the biggest problem that people aged 40 and 50 and above we are facing as a generation born here, is our land in India to which we are entitled either being done for free or our old men's reluctance to sell it and bring the money back here. That's what it is.
And is that a pride thing? Why they won't bring it back?
I don't know. I talk to different people. Shanti, my granddad didn't do it. My dad didn't do it.
Why should I do it?
I'm not going to be the black sheep that does it. But I said, there's no one here to see you're a black sheep. All the people that you grew up with are dead. And all the people that are older than you, they're all dead. So who's going to see it? The only person who knows is between me and you, Dad. No one gives a shit about your land. No one gives a shit. If I went to 10 families and spoke about your land, no one, they wouldn't be up all year worrying about your land or casting, they can't do mean and all of that.
It's perception.
It's between you and me. And I said, and for me, it's like you are sitting on £500,000 or £1 million, and you are throwing that land, and you know that I need the money, or I could do with the money, or your grandchildren who you tell me, and you're going to leave them F4. I said, put it on trust for them. You love them, didn't you? You love them more. And I prove it. I said, you're going to leave it to some villagers out there who are going to take it for free. And they're not even going to let me come back to my village in case I try and get my tucker back off them. I said, thank you very much. I said, the same village surname you put on the back of my name, when you sort of come in that sort of angle and sit down, but you can't get confrontational with these guys because these are your dads, These are your dads.
You can do it for me.
These are like, you have to pyar na samjhona penda. These are people that are saying, son, you came out of my you-know-what, I didn't come out of yours. And you might be a vakil now, you might be a vakil now, but I'm still your dad. Main tera piya.
Indy, you basically sit there. He's going to call you a fuddu in front of CSK.
You just take it.
Except,
I won't take any pleasure in that.
That's it.
You'll take all the pleasure in it. You did us dirty in The Apprentice. However, you still won.
I'm just going to say, look, in the Apprentice, dekhi la, uncle dekhi la. In the 10 cheezaਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੈ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਸਸਤੇ ਭਾਅ ਨਾਲ ਨੋਟ ਤਾਂ ਖਾਲਣ ਲੱਗ ਪਏ ਜਦੋਂ ਪੈਣੀਆਂ ਮੰਗਦਾ ਸੀ Right. So I'm going to say, India ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰ ਲੂਗੇ. And your dad's going to go, Harjap, ਤੇਰੀ ਗੱਲ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਕੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਜਾਣਾ. Stuff out. But no, seriously, listen, and until us lot out there, we broach the subject, you don't know. Don't worry about falling out with your dad about it. Don't worry about it, because if you live with your dad, you're never going to fall out with your dad. You see him every day. Tomorrow he'll let it go. He's going to call you a knob and then just start talking to you again. Yeah, that's it. That's what he's going to say. You fuddu. Yeah, tell me about that fuddu. Right. Aaj roti lekhi baniya. Right. That's what he's going to say. Right. Ameed baniya ya nahi? Mahi dal hi khilai janna. Sala meri zameen bhalda, khilauna mainu mahi dal. ਮੱਖਣੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਉਂਦਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੱਖਣੀ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਾਗ ਚ ਘੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਾਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ £500,000 ਪਾਉਂਡ ਬੇਸਕੀ ਲਿਆ ਮੋਟੀ ਬਲੂ ਲੇਵਲ ਵਾਲੀ ਫੇਰ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੋਣੀਆਂ listen bro, you don't put down grass on the table and start talking about £500,000. You have to put the good stuff out. The good stuff you've been saving. That one you have to pull that out. And meat, the baby spring lamb, Pulla, chicken Malay, chicken, not the one that you want. Don't get him a KFC. And get him a pills that are bun. Say, Dad, can we talk about the £500,000 now, please?
Dad, मैं सोचता सी है ना.
But आना पैंदा, ये तो मेरा भी बहुत कुछ करना पैंदा. It's like sometimes it's like a kid, like give lollipop de ke kam karona. It's exactly like you have to say, Dad, but come on, mera pot. And even your dad's going to be first shakki of you and saying, blue level kitho aa gayi aaj? Tikke kitho aa gaya?
Ki ho raha the?
Yeah. So don't go in straight for the kill.
Yeah.
Take a couple of weeks about it. Set the scene.
Build.
Romance. Like you were dating. It's dating.
You are courting your dad. This is what you're saying. Huh?
Yeah. You don't meet your girlfriend on your first date with Kadafi. Chaliye car parks. Ford Escort. Right. So you have to set karna penda na sara scene. You have to like pretend you're interested and pretend you've got the same same things. Yeah, cool. Of course I'm really interested in origami. Yeah, man. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. I thought it was just me. I love shopping for Lenge. Oh. yeah. I can shop in South Broadway for ages. Yeah, of course, man. Makeup. Oh, you got that Mac 295. Yeah. What do you think? What type of gun? What signal you think that's?
Number 7.
What's that gun?
Number 7.
What type of gun is that? right. So exactly the same. It's people skills. So you develop that. Luckily, in my job, I've developed it. So what you do is you've got to set the scene to your dad, and then you've got to actually bring up the conversation. Yeah. He ain't gonna ever bring it up. No one wants, like I told you, Jameen is their ma. When you ask someone to sell their ma, but no one's gonna bring that conversation up. But you've got to say, look, Dad, it's got to make practical financial sense. And when you show them the figures, look, the dad get head down, and then you have to tell them, Dad, I'm struggling as well. Be honest with them. If you are struggling, tell them. Tell them. No one wants to see their kids struggle. Especially when they go, but if you give it on Flash Harry, Dad, I got a Rolls Royce, I bought a new house. And I go, my holiday, I get 4 hafte Dubai. Your dad's sitting there thinking, what the fuck? I should be fucking asking him for some. मैं गवर्नमेंट दी पेंशन लैंड है
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਬਸ ਪਾਸ ਨਹੀਂ
हर चौथे महीने दुबई फिरदे रहंदे कदे बहामास कदे Maldives. Well, you can't then say to Dad, Daddy, मैंने पैसे चाहिए आ. So you have to set the scene, bro. You have to tell him if you're struggling and you need the money.
Indy, you've got it. Daddy, ਅਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ heating ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ.
Oh, then I have to go, Baba, ਠੰਡ ਲੱਗਦੀ. Send your kids out, innit? Baba, ਠੰਡ ਲੱਗਦੀ. Daddy ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਪੈਸੇ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਬਿੱਲ ਹੀਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ.
ਬੜੀ ਮੋਟੀ ਮਾਰੀ ਹੋ ਗਈ.
Baba, please, ਮੈਂ homework ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੀ. ਮੈਂ ਸ਼ਿਫਰ ਕਰਦੀ ਆ. Then what's your Baba go? What's your dad go? ਤੈਨੂੰ ਹੀਟ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਪੈਸੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਰਿਆ ਬੰਦਾ ਲੱਟ ਏਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਲੈ ਗਿਆ ਏਦਾਂ ਦਾ ਲੋਲ ਕਿਉਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੀਟ ਵਾਲੀ ਪੈ ਹੁੰਦੇ right that's it all comes in right so this is you got to play the game bro but it's a massive topic but I will say this seriously to everyone out there if you had 200 grand here that you're owed or your granddad left you would you let it go you wouldn't let it slide so don't let that slide over just because maybe you're a bit sensitive about topics. This needs to be done. Do it in what way you think you can do.
But in their life.
Pyar naal. It's best sara kuch pyar naal ho jaye. Yeah. And I spent my whole life being a mediator. But this is, look, a lot of people say to me, I always say, look, why do youngsters watch my show? They go, well, we just like it. And we sit there 3 generations and watch your show. Baba, my dad, and me do. And I'm like, they're 14, 15-year-olds saying we watch your show. And then someone said to me, Harjap, you are the bridge between that older generation and your generation and the younger generation. You're like a bridge. And their parents out there, they go, we've been telling them the same thing that you tell them, but they go, no, jat tak Harjap nahi kehanda, jat tak aapa manna. And they go, they want to hear it from your house because they've built this trust with you and this bond with you. And I like that as well, you know. So my job is to be clear cut and tell them what's on the fair that ki gal hai and ki nahi.
You advocate.
So I am. So I represent all that sort of thing, and I act as a bridge.
I think we should nickname you Harjap the Bridge.
That's right.
Bhangal.
London Bridge is falling down.
Lord Harjap the Bridge.
Lord Bhangal.
And on that note, we should end it there. Harjap, tell people where they can find you, please.
Everywhere. TV, Instagram, TikTok, at Harjap Bhangal, Facebook, Twitter, very less now because that's a cesspit of hate. Blue Sky is where they can catch me on as well. But yeah, listen, everyone knows your mum and dad's phone book on the phone. If you don't know where Harjap is, your mum and dad will definitely know where to get here.
And if you want immigration advice, send them a DM, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And don't DM them or you end up in Dubai.
Absolutely.
Raj Mexico has another thing. Trump the plane in shackles. Trump sahab the plane.
Thank you for joining. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Take care.
Thank you guys for watching. Check out the rest of our episodes here and don't forget to subscribe here. We'll see you guys on the next one.